So glad you're here. So nice to see you. I wasn't sure. Those that have to end up watching it on the replay since they can't join us live, but that's all good. I just want to check in with everyone, and I'm curious if you'll drop in the chat and let me know if Tantra is something completely new to you, or do you have a Tantra practice or some experience with Tantra? I would love to know. So if Tantra is like brand new, you're not sure about it, put a 1. And then if have some experience with Tantra, or you've studied a little bit, you're aware of it, drop a 2 into the chat. I would just love to know where you are on the journey as I share a little bit more with you today. Awesome. That's great. I've been a nurse for decades, and I had a really amazing Kundalini awakening or healing with a tantric experience with a Tantra lover over a decade ago. And it radically shifted my life. And my life is just so much better than it ever was before. It made me regret that I didn't do it sooner. There's so many things about Tantra, so many misconceptions. Like we think we need to have a partner to begin. We don't. It just starts with you. That delayed my journey by a solid decade. But there's so much that we can do even with manifesting. It's not just things for in the bedroom. It's just how we start to show up in our lives. And one thing with manifesting, we think when we want to be happy or to be successful, we think that we need to get what I would call like the trappings of success, where we are acquiring all these things, getting the house, the car, the job, the education, check from things that society has programmed us to believe that these are the things that we should be aspiring for. And then we're going to be happy and feel better. And it's actually, so that's playing the outside in game. Okay, I'm going to do all these things to get all these things happening out here, and then things are going to get it better in here. But truly the power is whenever we understand that it's really an inside out job, and that our outer world is just a reflection of our inner world. And what Tantra helps you to do is to start to change the landscape of your inner world. And when you start to shift things inside here, then things outside here mirror that and show that. Even when we're in relationship with a partner or a lover, they are also mirrors, and they're mirroring back to us the relationship we have with ourselves. So if we start to have a healthier relationship with ourselves through self-love and other things with Tantra, then we're having a healthier relationship, and we're also attracting better partners. And we start to understand what it is to truly love ourselves. And when we know how to love ourselves in a healthy way, we can recognize when people aren't loving us in a healthy way. But first, we need to experience it for ourselves. Also, becoming our own best lover with Tantra helps us to attract better lovers. But just having this attunement and connecting to ourselves, that's where our power lies. It's inside here. And that's what Tantra really helps us to be able to navigate. Now, I didn't do a whole slide deck. I wanted to keep this. A lot of times when I do master classes, there can be a lot of slides and whatever. And I really wanted to feel the energy of everyone here. I want to share a few images to make sure everyone's on the same page with this and that you're understanding. Because I don't know about you, but I'm a very visual learner. I can show you some visuals of what I'm talking about with Tantra and with energy and changing those dynamics. I want to just show you a little bit about what I'm going to talk about as far as our energy and our frequency. Whether you're familiar with Tantra or not, is you're going to be familiar with emotions. This is a emotional frequency scale. This is measurements and energetically in hertz. So the lowest frequency is shame, down at 20. And the highest, when you're enlightenment, you think of a Buddhist monk that spends completely zenned out, spends hours on the mountaintops meditating. That's 700. And what they'll also call within Tantra is like Christ consciousness, like thinking Christ was an enlightened being, and he was really expanded within his energy centers as well. Here's enlightenment. Here is shame. I'm curious if you'll drop into the chat and let me know, what is the youngest age, the earliest age do you think we start being programmed to have shame? Just pop an age in the chat. Like, what is your first memory of experiencing shame? If you're open to sharing. It's so programmed into us. Even think about whenever we were in school, how often were we conditioned by teachers to behave? And if we were misbehaving, we were going to be shamed. We were going to be put in the corner, sent into the office. It was going to be really embarrassing in front of our friends. I love this. Someone says 5 years, 2 years. Yeah, 2 years. Yes. Thanks for sharing that. When I became a trauma-informed master coach, what was really shocking is the earliest times that we start being subconsciously programmed to have shame is age 15 months old. And there's so much shame in our society around sexuality. There's so much shame around our sexual energy. We'll use it a lot to sell things because sex sells, or you'll see a lot of movies or media things that have sexy images or sex scenes because that gets our attention, but it's not showing us the beauty and the power that can be experienced with that. Even right now within in our world, all the controversy that's going on in Hollywood is someone having parties, these sex parties where people were taken advantage of. What does that do to us as a collective, as a whole? That makes us shy away from sex and think it's as bad or wrong. But it's not bad or wrong. It's an energy. And everything, even money, currency, we'll say that, I'll share this real quick, is an energy. It's a frequency. That's why it's called currency. And money is just an amplifier. So if you have a really big heart and you're a loving person and you come across a lot of money, that will be amplified. If you're a jerk and you come across a lot of money, that will be amplified. So this is just an energetic. So how are we being with that energy? And what is our intentionality with that energy? With Tantra, it's more like the sexual healing that Marvin Gaye would sing about. It's about really honoring the other, having a devotion, honoring the other as the god or the goddess within them, and really having this deep connection with a lot of intentionality and love and care and compassion. These other things that we're talking about that are happening in the world that are corrupt, they're doing things in a power trip to control people based on their ego, based on manipulation, doing acts of drugging people, not having consent. And this adds more charge into the collective of, oh my gosh, that's so bad or wrong, anything to do with sex, because we get it linked to these other situations. And it's not that sex within itself is bad or negative. It's just how people are manipulative with it and how they are going about it, how they approach it. And so everything has to do whenever we're navigating any choice point in our life. What is our intentionality? Are we here to be honoring and loving of others and ourselves and have respect? Or is this manipulation, or we have some other ill intentions and then we're being manipulative with these dynamics? Again, shame starts as early as 15 months old. And when we are ages 0 to 7, our brains, our minds, our subconscious mind is like a sponge. We just take in all this programming that we get from our parents, our society, people around us. So even when you're wanting to manifest money, just think of all the stories you may have heard when you were little of that money is dirty, people that are greedy with money. And then that can have us subconsciously have fear around having a lot of money because we don't know how we would handle it. Are we going to be able to handle it with integrity? Or are we going to be like a bad person with it? This is going to make us evil or wrong or bad. So it all has to do with our intentions and where we are. Now, if you look over here at this diagram, to the right, it's expanded. When you get around about, you're reasonable around the vibration of love, and Tantra helps you with self-love and opening your heart chakra, then you're expanded. And then whenever you're in these lower vibrations of emotions, you're feeling contracted. You can check in with yourself during the day and notice how you feel in your body. Start to connect with our body. Yoga is something that helps us have a mind-body connection. Tantra is the yoga of sex, and it helps us to approach sex where we are connecting our mind with our bodies, and we're not just approaching it from ego or our thoughts or a fantasy only. We're able to, through our 5 senses, drop into our bodies and really experience this on a much deeper level. Just notice within your body during the day. If something happens, notice, am I feeling tense and contracted? Or am I feeling expanded and open and light? And whenever you're feeling contracted, you can turn on some music that raises your vibration, have a little dance for a few minutes, take some nice, slow, deep belly breaths, do things where you feel more expansive. Because when we are wanting to attract and manifest things to us, we want our energy to be expanded. Think of your auric field, the energy around you. Here with shame is even lower than fear or anger or hate. Shame is like the lowest one at all. So if we are living in a society that is subconsciously programming us to experience shame, my belief is that it's also a way it's easier to control people when they're disempowered. So if they're feeling shame, they're not sure of themselves, they're constantly questioning themselves, then they're contracting down and they're playing small, dimming our light. Whenever we expand our aura, again, law of attraction, we will attract things to us. We become more magnetic, right? Our energy, when we enter the room, we can shift the energy of a room, and it can really be felt by people. And that's where people are like, wow, I really like your vibes and how it feels to be around you and be in your space. And so just being aware of that. And when we are disconnecting from our sexual energy, we were literally created from sexual energy. There should be no shame in such creation. That is the very energy that brought us into existence. So what a great place to hit, if we want to hit a reset button in our life, to connect to that energy. And so when we can connect to that energy, we don't have to just that's our creation energy, right? We can create a human life with it, but we don't have to just do that. We can create the life we want to live through tapping into that energy. Let's say we're having celibacy, or maybe especially for people that are older, then if their spouse has passed on or has medical challenges and they're not able to share intimacy and things like that, they will just stop having pleasure in their body. And being a nurse for over 30 years, could literally sense with my patients that were coming in with different illnesses that they were so shut down from their sexual energy. There was like so much shame and they were just really stagnant. And when I want you to think about energy, imagine a body of water. And imagine a river and the water's flowing through it. That's what you want. So you don't have dis-ease in your body. You want your energy flowing. You don't want it stagnant or stuck. I want you to think when energy isn't flowing, like a swamp, and the water is just still. And this film comes across all the top of it. And that's where disease and bacteria can grow. That's what happens inside our bodies when we don't keep our energy going and we play small and we dim our light. I want to share like how to shine our light. That's something I'm so passionate about, is helping you to amplify your energetics and shining your light and letting go of these disempowering beliefs or programs that are keeping you stuck and playing small. And you're wondering, why am I not manifesting things? Why are things not coming my way? It's because like you're in such a contracted state. Right. And so whenever you want to manifest and have more come into your body, energetically, we're energetic beings. You want to amplify your energy, and you also want to work with your nervous system so that you have the body that can hold the bigness of the life that you truly desire. When I became a trauma-informed master coach, one of the things that I learned in my trauma healing modules was that the 3 things that support healing trauma are breath, sound, and movement. For those of you that are familiar with Tantra, the 3 tenets of Tantra for over 5,000 years, before we had therapists and psychologists, the 3 tenets are breath, sound, and movement. And I had this light bulb moment. I was like, oh, no wonder I started healing from my childhood trauma. I wasn't really wanting to go about it in a way of traditional talk therapy. I'm a Scorpio. My birthday is this month on Halloween. We're like the sex signs of the zodiac. So Tantra was definitely the way for me to go. I'm going to show something else here that shows a little bit more with the chakra. Here we have these energy centers in our bodies, and we are energetic beings. And we are taught that we have physical bodies. We're just now starting to understand more that we have an emotional body as well, but we have an energetic body. That's why when I work neurotrauma ICU at UCLA, I would have my patients, and a lot of times we would do EEG monitorings where I'm monitoring the electrical output of their brain waves, and I'm constantly monitoring them on the screen. That is an electrical signal that's being transmitted. When I work cardiothoracic ICU, EKG, electrocardiogram, we are energetic beings, and what's going on with the heartbeat and within the nodes and the energy centers in the heart, and what waveforms are those emitting, and then we're picking that up and displaying it on a signal. Now, chakras are something from over thousands of years ago in Tantra, and most of the lineage that I study of Tantra is based from India. And they're called a center, the tube where your chakras are lined up is called the Sushumna Nadi, or the inner flute. And Nadi, N-A-D-I, means your chakras are energy centers, like these spinning wheels of energy. And the ancient wisdom and the mystics many years ago understood that these energy centers were here. And now with modern medicine, they've actually injected with isotopes and able to see these spinning energy things. Now, when I would assist with surgeries and be opening up and helping with open heart surgery, it's not like I would see the energy centers, but that they're there, and each center is also connected to the organs and supports the organs in that area. So at the very base of your spine is your root chakra. This is formed, I think, also from ages 0 to 7. This has to do with your tribe, your safety, your mother-father wound, inner child stuff. So a lot of times when I work with my clients, we also work with inner child wounds, because another surprising statistic is that over 95% of adults received inadequate parenting. So you got to think, why is the landscape of relationships so toxic right now? Why do we have such a high divorce rate? If we never address these things, and another thing that I recently saw was that the same centers in our brain that are responsible signaling centers in our brain for how our relationship with our mother and father is the same region that gets activated when we are in romantic relationships. So if we had dysfunction within our parents, we couldn't trust them, or we have an abandonment wound or something like that happened, that will play out in our adult relationships, and we won't even be aware of it. I wasn't aware of it for decades. So this is really key. And if we don't feel worthy, and a lot of our worthiness comes from how we were cared for by our parents or our caregivers, and if we don't feel deserving of something, even when we're doing all these manifesting things, it can block us because we're not feeling worthy of receiving the thing that we want. So there's a lot that can go into this, but just to understand. So you have the root chakra here, and then think too, whenever in 2020 with everything happened, and this is safety, your root chakra at the base of your spine, what did everyone focus on? Getting toilet paper. That's connected to your safety. And then also your tribe, wanting to fit in with your peers, because back in caveman times, if we were not accepted within community or society, we would have to make it our own in the wilderness, and we would probably die. So this is about survival. So a lot of the survival things within that root chakra. Then going up, the orange center is your sacral chakra. This is connected to this is your creativity chakra. It's connected to your reproductive organs, your creativity, your sexual energy. Now, this chakra is stimulated by your mouth and by your sex organs. So a lot of times when people shut down their sexuality, they will stimulate that chakra through eating food. How often have you heard a woman say, "Oh my gosh, this tastes better than sex"? They're stimulating that chakra. That's a way to do that. So that's your creativity. And if you're disconnected from your sexual energy, you're also going to be disconnected from your ability to be as creative and put that in towards your projects, your business, whatever your life's work is. Now, the yellow center is right under where the bra strap area would be, which if you're wearing a bra that has an underwire, you're blocking energy from your chakras. And also bras, also the bands of them, you need to be aware that it's impacting your lymphatic fluid and how your lymph fluid is draining. So there's a lot of reasons to be aware of, like what type of bra, what type of fabrics that they're made out of, things like that. But this is your solar plexus. This is going to help you feel more confidence in going forward in your mission, your things in your life. Then up here's the heart chakra. Now the heart chakra, the green one, that connects the upper and the lower chakras. So see that there's 3 chakras above that one, 3 chakras below. Now, and it's the chakra that connects us with the world around us. And when this one is open, that starts to vibrate. We're in a more loving, where we live more from a place of love instead of fear. We're vibrating more at a frequency of 400 hertz. That's much better than shame. Okay. So we're elevating our experience, but most people, the majority of our world operates from these bottom 3 chakras, like the hamster wheel. So they might build, the energy might start to build up from here. And then we'll do something and maybe hook up or have meaningless sex or whatever. And we just shoot that energy out without knowing how to like really flow it to be empowered. And then we just bring the energy goes all back down to zero. And so we just will slowly creep it up. And then it starts to, if we don't know how to get this energy to circulate through our bodies, the turn on starts to be too much. It's almost like a dam that needs to break. Like it's like all this pressure. And I know that when I was operating more like before Tantra, like Samantha on Sex in the City, I was like itch I had to scratch. I was like, I just need to hook up, whatever. And I would go and do that thing. And then boom, my energy would drop back down. And that's how the majority of the world lives. But if you know how to bring that energy up and work with your energy centers, then you can bring it up and start to open the heart chakra. So many of us are blocked here from wounds with our mother and father. And they did the best they could. They also, this was generational trauma passed down, right? Or having a heartbreak and we armor up and we feel like we're protecting ourselves, but we're actually blocking things because we want the energy to fully flow. Then you have your throat chakra. For me, I was very talkative, very super talkative. My throat chakra was very overactive. I didn't get a lot of attention when I was a child. I suffered from like neglect. I was left at home alone a lot by myself, and I had to look out for myself. And my mother, if she was there, usually she was passed out drunk. So I like love to talk and super talkative. Now I'm more balanced. Now I can go days without talking and be very much in a meditative state. The other side of this, if it's a little bit blocked, then you have trouble like speaking your truth, saying your boundaries, using your voice, right? And so that'll show up there. Then here is the third eye chakra. And this is what opened up for me with my first tantric lover. And your third eye is connected to your pineal gland. It is also connected to your intuition. So you start to live life from a more empowered, intuitive space. And then when you go up to the crown chakra, and that one is opened up, then that's when you're feeling like almost a channel, like connected to the universe, a bigger power, and you have like divine guidance, like you get these little nudges. It's really amazing. And I'm going to show the Kundalini energy, but Kundalini is represented in Tantra like a snake. So if you look at the top here, those look like little snakes. And so it's stuck. This energy is stuck and dormant in our root chakra. And it takes some activating and doing things to get it to go up into the higher chakras so we can have the energy fully flowing. And then we're really empowered and really lit up. So I'm going to show another picture real quick of what the Kundalini energy looks like. And then I can't look at the chat just yet, but I will in a moment. But do you see how at the base of her spine, and then that energy is going all the way up and it's like going up into the cosmos. So you're really connected even to your higher self, really super powerful. And then this is an image of like a couple being together, and with your chakras, when your chakras are open, actually I discovered that sex was actually better when missionary position. I thought that position was such a joke before, so boring or whatever. But when I was with a lover and and we've been doing our work with our chakras and meditating, and we had been intimate for over a year or so, but when we really started doing like breath work and other things like that, all of a sudden missionary position, he would finish really fast, and he had a lot of control over that, and he was able to last for hours, but he was like, we're like, what happened? All of a sudden it just got to be so powerful. And so what happens is when you're together in missionary, your chakras here are lining up. See how the bottom one, you're mirroring each other. So especially if you're in closer contact and then you're being intimate, so then it's almost like the energy would flow up to the top. So we realized that this ended up being like one of our best positions, but we had to save it for last because there was like point of no return. It was just like, and my lover was really frustrated at first. And then I realized, oh, it's because of the chakras. And so it really made a lot of sense. And I'm going to show here real quick on the vibration. Yes, breast sound and movement. Just checking the chat. Yes, the eye contact, because your eyes are the windows to the soul. I'm glad you brought that up. So in missionary, you also can make the eye contact, and that can be very edgy. So many people can have sex with someone, be butt ass naked in the bed with them and doing all the things. But if you want to look at them in the eyes, they're just like, and you could have done a whole bunch of wild positions. And then all of a sudden it's, oh my gosh, don't look at me, because we wear a mask. We're so afraid to be seen. And that's how we've been conditioned. And so this here is like whenever our vibration and our energy is low to the left. And then whenever we have all of our chakras, I say on and popping, and everyone that stays to the end, I have a special gift for you so you can check something with your chakras. But right here, this is where you can, like, when you're really going to improve your radiance, you're going to be amplified. And Tantra also helps with the nervous system regulation because of the practices with the breath, sound, and movement, somatics, all of those things are Tantra practices. The higher your vibration, the more aligned and connected you are, and you'll be able to really connect with others as well too, because you're really going to be this radiant being. But we are so conditioned to play small, not take up space, dim your light. And with that, I'm going to share just something really quick. I got this, my uncle that recently passed away, he's my dad's brother. My dad's been passed away for a long time. I got a little poem, and I got a box of photos and mementos from him, from the family. I'm just going to share this really quick because this is what I'm so passionate about, is like helping people shine their light. Hopefully I don't tear up when I share this with you. But it says, I met a stranger. It's called Share Your Light. I met a stranger in the night whose light had ceased to shine. I paused and let him light his lamp from mine. A tempest came up in the night and shook the world about. And when the wind was gone, my lamp was out. But back to me the stranger came. His lamp was glowing fine. He held the precious flame and lighted mine. I was like, wow, this is like such on an old little typewritten paper from some of my family. And it could even be, I have some poems from my grandmother who was born in 1890, her brother's book of poetry. I'm not sure where that one came from. And I was like, this is so wild to me because this is my work. This is why I love Tantra, because I really am just helping people shine their light. And it reminds me of the silly little song in church of this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. And that's what I really believe Tantra helps us to be able to do. Now I'm going to share here. You see two lovers, and see how their chakras are also depicted by a lotus flower. See how you've got the lotus flowers here? I wish I knew who the artist was that did this. And then when you're together and connecting and those energies are flowing, you're breathing, you can literally circulate this energy through your bodies as you're experiencing intimacy together. And it's like nothing you've ever experienced before. I want to add this in here too. Another thing that Tantra helps you to do is, if you've heard of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, when I was in nursing school, I heard about this. So it even matches the colors and everything with the chakras, because your base level, your root chakra, is just survival, your basic needs, food, water, warmth, rest. Then above that, are you feeling safe? And also with the sacral chakra, women are not going to be as interested in sex if they're not feeling safe or they don't really trust their lover. But even their G-spot orgasms, and they'll be more orgasmic when they feel safe with a partner. They'll feel more turned on and be more interested. It's really wild. And then going up, belongingness, love, and needs, the green, the heart chakra, and getting on up to your esteem needs. And then at the top is self-actualization, when you realize your full potential. And that's what Tantra helps you to do. But so many of us, for decades, I was a single mom at an early age. I was in my survival mode. And then when you can break that and go into thriving, life really opens up to you. This is another diagram too, and it goes beyond self-actualization, is also going to self-transcendence and getting a sense of meaning and purpose in your life. And that's what you can do, is you're elevating the chakras as well. So now that's enough of the photos for today. I'm curious, as I just shared that, does anyone have any questions for me? Just drop them in the chat as well. I'd love to answer any questions. What ends up happening is, with Tantra, when you start to work with your life force energy, you can manifest and attract things to you better, because we need to, there's law of attraction, there's law of vibration. When we are raising our energy and we're more expanded, and we're like literally this beacon of light to attract to us the things that we desire. And so you can use this energy and this turn on energy to amplify those things. And in Tantra, there's something called sex magic. It's not a dark magic. You're not trying to manipulate anyone or anything like that. You use intentions. See, again, everything is with intentions. So let's say I'm doing something with sex magic and I'm like, I want to manifest a partner. In that experience, I won't do those rituals or those practices with the intention of making someone else desire me. You don't want to have the karma from that. So what you want to do is you'll just be like this when you're doing certain practices with Tantra for this and sex magic. You need to be in integrity, right? Because we want to have good karma. What you want to do is just be like, okay, universe, source, when we're wanting to manifest something, this is what I desire in a partner. And I want someone with these qualities. Now, if the universe sees that someone that you know that maybe you like actually has those qualities and thinks that's a good match for you, it could bring it into happen. But you don't want to say, I want to make John be this, because then you're manipulating, you're trying to override someone else's free will. Just say, this is what I want. And then one of the things that we'll go into a little bit more tomorrow is going to be going over masculine and feminine energy dynamics as well, polarity to attract things to you. But you want to make a list and be really intentional and put on the list like the values of what you want in a person. Then what we need to do, like attracts like, we need to embody and be the male or the female version of that. We cannot expect to attract I know that there's opposites attract. That's more of an opposite energy, like the opposition, regardless of your gender, of masculine and feminine energy dynamics. That's how opposites attract. But when you're wanting to attract a partner that has the same values as you, certain lifestyle things, certain beliefs that you also share, then you're going to want to embody those things too. I can't say I want someone that takes their health seriously and is physically fit, and then me be a couch potato and me not be taking care of myself. But I expect that of someone else, right? The hypocrisy of that. Like I have an expectation that you do that, but I don't expect the same of myself. But when we start to be that for ourselves, that those are things that are really important to us, then we should do it for ourselves. And when then we're doing that, then we are actually even putting out a signal and a frequency to actually attract those things to us by actually being that. So it really starts with us and the relationship we have within ourselves and our ability to receive. So I want to just ask you here, I want you to think about, like, when was the last time someone gave you a compliment? Just pause for a moment and think about that. Think about the last time someone gave you a compliment. And now I want you to think about, did you receive that compliment and say, oh, thank you, I received that? Or did you diminish it and say, oh, this old thing, I got this for $10. Oh, or, oh no, I have this blemish here, I don't look that great, whatever it is, or, oh, that's not that big of a deal. So I want you, if you put a 1 in the comments and put 1, if you were able to fully receive the compliment, or 2, if you found yourself pushing that compliment away, that you weren't able to fully receive it. Awesome. Amazing. Yes. So you got to notice, and we all can be guilty of this because we've been taught from childhood to be humble, right? Be humble, be modest, children to be seen, not heard, always playing small, because what? We're easier to control the society when we're not empowered. So we've been giving our power away. Also, whatever stories we heard from our parents, where maybe they were focusing, and they may have meant, oh, I'm going to make them a better child if I point out to them everything they're doing wrong. So they'll stop doing that so they can be perfect. We have this perfection. And perfection is actually, I'm a recovering perfectionist, and perfection is also a way of, it's self-sabotage. It's a way of us, it's a way to procrastinate because we'll delay doing things because it's just not perfect enough. And I did that for a long time as well. So if we have these really crazy standards and we're like, I'm not perfect, guess what? No one is perfect. We are all here, human, having a human experience. So instead of putting these crazy standards and expectations on ourselves, when someone gives us a compliment, receive it. Because when we want to manifest things, if it's almost like you're driving down the road and then all of a sudden you're hitting the gas, but then you're slamming on the brakes. You're hitting the gas, you're slamming on the brakes. So when you want to get into the energy of being able to fully receive and to manifest, I want you to think of this. How you do one thing is how you do everything. Start to receive the compliments. Start to receive support if someone offers to help you with something. even being able to ask for support when you need it. This was really edgy for me, because if you couldn't count on your parents to be there for you, how are you going to count on someone else to be there for you? And this is how we can stay stuck and not get the things that we want or deserve or desire in this world. So work on your ability to receive, because that, I want you to think, okay, I'm trying to manifest, and I have like a little funnel that you put in when you're pouring something in. So you're just like, oh, my little funnel to receive is only this big because I'm really not comfortable receiving. I want all these things to manifest, but I only have this tiny little space for it to try to come in. And my body is really contracted. And how is this even going to fit inside here? What you want to do is expand your capacity to be able to receive, where you're like wide open to receiving. Bring it on. I am open. I am receptive. I am a magnet for what my heart desires, and really attract those things to you. So another thing here is also connected, is that our ability to receive pleasure is also connected to our ability to receive. Now, I didn't discover this until I had been a Tantra coach for several years. And I've had this awareness, and I was like, F me. I realized that because I'm a people pleaser is why I became good in bed. And like attracts, so I get a lot of clients too that are recovering people pleasers or people pleasers, and we work together with that. Because of course, anyone that's a people pleaser is going to want to learn how to be the best in bed. Think about it, because you want to really please your partner. Next time, whenever you're lovemaking, notice, are you only focused on giving pleasure? And do you deny yourself to receive pleasure? Pay attention to that. And the invitation here is to allow yourself to receive, to not only focus on the other. If we had a certain trauma or something happen in childhood where we were always having to look, where our parents didn't look out for our needs, we learn at an early age, this is something I experienced, I learned at an early age, so I'll just speak for myself, that my needs were not going to be met. So the way that I stayed safe in my home was making sure that my mom was happy and okay, because if she wasn't, and then when she got drunk and she would be in a rage, then everything was chaos, and I didn't want that. So I learned that my needs were not that important, and that I needed, for safety, to attune to my caregiver's needs and make sure that they were okay. And then that has me in relationships and other dynamics, looking to the other and being like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And then when I'm in bed with someone and being intimate, I'm focusing on them. How much pleasure are you giving? Oh, great. This is the best you've ever experienced. Awesome. Yay. So you have to be like, can I allow myself to also not just only be giving, but how much am I able to receive? This is a big game changer. When you want to manifest things, your ability to receive is so important. So I'm going to drop in and ask you this one. I want you to think about the last time that you self-pleasured. If you do that. If you don't do that, I'm going to invite you to start that, prioritize, put yourself at the top of your to-do list. If anyone deserves to enjoy your body, it is you or your longest lasting relationship from your first breath to your last breath. I know so many things can happen too, right? I get that. So I want you to take the time to give yourself pleasure, and even doing it as almost a self-love ritual, and play with how much pleasure you can allow yourself to receive. I'm curious, and this can be edgy in here, but we're all adults. So I want you to think about the last time that you had self-pleasure. If you gave yourself a quickie, this is what most people do, put a 1. If you took your time with yourself, give yourself a 2. And drop in the comments. No judgment. It's just, this is like how we start to be aware. Oh, wow. I said 3 years ago. Thank you for saying that. Thank you so much for sharing with me. So I want you to think about this. Whenever we self-pleasure, and yeah, definitely scream out your own name. You know what I mean? Get with it. So I want you to think about this, because we know our bodies so well, right? Like we know how to get from point A to point B. There's a million demands going on in our chaotic world. So I decided to do this at the last minute. I just decided to do this like about a week ago. We can be so busy with the things, again, on the hamster wheel of everyday life. And then when we do take time to have pleasure, we just rub one out real quick. Oh, I know how to get from point A to point B, boom, boom. And within minutes or less, we're done, we're finished. But I want you to notice that if you were to have a lover that would take that little time with you, would you resent that? I know I would. I would be like, are you serious right now? This is it? I spent more time shaving my legs to prepare for this than this. Like, no. But how often do we do that to ourselves? So when you want to expand your capacity to receive, a great practice is having pleasure. So I'm going to share with you a powerful practice I share with my clients. I want you to think of the arousal scale of 0, you're not turned on at all. 10, you're orgasmic. I want you to try to hover and stay around your best guesstimate between 5 and 7. If you stay at 7 too long, it can really quick go to 8, 9, 10. Okay. Now I want you to imagine that you have a straw, this is Shumna Nadi, from your genitals to the top of your head. So from your root chakra to the top of your crown. I want you to, when you are self-pleasuring, and even if you need to use tactile stimulation and touch the top of your head while you're doing this, go for it. I want you, as you're starting to build up that pleasure, it's starting to get up to a 7, breathe that up like a straw all the way to the top of your head, and then exhale it like a waterfall and let it drop down behind you. And then circle it again. Breathe it up, drop it down. This is going to also work to open up your chakras. I'll share an email to send this out to you. Breath of Fire video. I actually had a client that worked with me, and when I was talking to him the other day, he said the reason he worked with me is that he did my breath of fire. He goes, I know that you said on the instructions of the video not to drive while I'm doing it, but I was driving and I was like, oh, whatever, I can handle it. I'm an athlete, whatever. And then he had to pull the car over. And he said that he just kept doing the breath of fire. He goes, yeah, you say you can do 2 minutes the first time and then build up to 5 minutes. He did it for 30 minutes. His Kundalini energy went all the way up to the top and he had a Kundalini awakening. And when he shifted like that, he was like, I need to work with her. I was like, wow, that's really incredible. So the breath of fire also acts like liquid Drano. One, it will charge you up and energize you during the day, but it helps to open up these energy centers. So if you use your pleasure and you breathe it up through your body, you're helping to activate that energy at the base of your spine, and you're really going to like start to radiate. So I want you to breathe that up. So when it starts to get really congested and you think, oh my gosh, I'm about to have an O, just let it diffuse. One, you can pause for a moment, or then just breathe it up so it's not all congested from like your pelvic area down. So use the breath, and where our attention goes, energy flows. So even just, you can play pretend in your mind. We believed in Santa for how long? We can believe in something with our body. So just use the power of your imagination, and then just imagine that energy is as you're just breathing it up to the top of your body and you're just breathing it down. So powerful. This will really amplify. This will increase your magnetism. This will help you attract better lovers, because when you want to attract better lover, you first need to be your own best lover. If you're disconnected from your sexuality, you're disconnected, or you feel shame about these things, this is what's holding you back from being your highest vibration in life. How we show up in the bedroom is how we show up in the boardroom, is how we show up in the Zoom room. It's all connected. How we do one thing is how we do everything. And if we're going to play small and we're going to feel shame about something, like our body is literally wired to experience pleasure. We have all these amazing nerve endings to experience pleasure. And pleasure is our birthright. So allow yourself. We can have had programming when we were younger to say that was shameful or bad or wrong or dirty. And so we might shy away from that. And also, especially if you're single, it's important that you do this, because then you're not going to be tempted to hook up or do something you're going to regret. I know my mother was very promiscuous, but she was shamed. Oh my gosh, you guys, this is TMI, but my mom got in trouble. My mom was born in 1933. She had me later in life. My mom was shamed in like first or second grade because she was literally playing with herself at her desk. And she was humiliated by her teacher. So after that, when I was an adult, she would talk to me and say that she would never masturbate after that. And I was just like, Mom, I need to send you a toy or something. You need to do something. But then what would that have her do? She would just hook up with men when she wanted her needs to be met. So then we end up settling or being with people that aren't a good match for us. So if you go into the grocery store and you're starving, you're going to throw a bunch of junk in your cart. You don't want to throw a bunch of junk partners in your cart just because you don't know how to take care of your needs. You loving yourself, you need to show the universe, higher source, higher power, how you expect a lover to treat you by starting to treat yourself that way. Start to intentionally date yourself. How do I expect someone to show up for me? Let me start doing that for myself. Because then you're showing the universe that you're ready to receive that, right? You're not just pushing that away, deflecting compliments, denying yourself pleasure, not loving yourself, or having negative self-talk. I know that we went through a lot today. Oh yeah, my mother shared a lot of stories with me. She was a wild one. But I felt bad for her because I could see how she was shamed. She was just young and curious about her body. And then she got shamed and called out in class for it. So that embarrassed her. So then these things happen. And then she was very promiscuous because she wasn't going to take care of herself. She was outsourcing it. And then, man, did she date some doozies of people. I definitely did not get good modeling on how to date from my mom. I had to undo that learning of what I saw her do. And I was like one of the last of my friends to lose their virginity. I was really afraid I would be super wild like my mom. And I guess I ended up being in my own way, but actually also she was a beautiful lesson for me because she was really comfortable talking about sex. That's my gift from her, because talking about this, and when I talk with my clients and we have conversations, they're like, you make me feel so comfortable to talk about it. I'm like, that's truly the gift that I got with my mom, because she was very comfortable talking about it. She had some other things that I wish would have been different for what my purpose is and what I'm passionate about. My mother really helped me a lot because that gave me more permission to explore and to be more adventurous and to have some shenanigans and things like that as I was getting older, so that I could explore, because I wasn't feeling shame or having that placed on me. Our parents have like gifts. We may not realize it, but if you've ever read the book Celestine Prophecy, it talks more about that. Now, what I'm going to be sharing over the next couple of days is, tomorrow we're going to go more into like emotional blocks and energy blocks within our bodies. And I'm going to drop here in the chat, though, if you want to check things out with your chakras, I have a quiz that you can take to see if any of your chakras are blocked. So I'm going to just drop that here in the chat and you can take that quiz and you can see like which one of your chakras are blocked. And our energy centers, our emotions are just energy emotion. So everything is so deeply connected. So you can take that quiz, and then even when we meet back here tomorrow, notice you might have some blocks, and I can share some things that can help you to open up any of those blocks that you might be experiencing. Now, as we're finishing up for today, I would love to know if anyone has any questions at all. Let me go into gallery view. Drop in the chat and let me know just a couple of words just to check in as we wrap up. What is like your biggest takeaway from today? And if you're open as well, like you can do like a screenshot or add on your stories or your social media and share with everyone, or invite a friend to join us tomorrow, and they'll also end up getting the replay to this. So if you know someone you think would benefit from this, definitely let me invite them, welcome them in. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. So take that chakra quiz and let's see where you are. Yes, being open to receive, that ability to receive. And especially for males too, when I work with males, are taught in our society, the patriarchy just hasn't been unfair to women, it's been unfair to men as well. And men are taught to, you got to be strong, you got to be the provider, you got to be the protector, you disconnect with your emotions. You're programmed at a young age, like big boys don't cry, this and that. And then when you're with a woman, the woman's, I want you to be so emotional, how are you feeling? And they're like, I haven't ever connected with how I'm feeling. I've been taught to disconnect from that. And so that makes a lot of challenges in relationships. The women were like so emotional into feelings. And the men are like, wait, what? You want me to go into that? So I had a client that was in his 60s and he'd been married for over 30 years and he couldn't make love to his wife. Viagra was failing him. And we started working together, and within weeks, their sex life started to improve. And after months of working together, they were able to make love he was like, I made love to her for over an hour. She had 6 to 8 orgasms. And he said, we're having better sex in our 60s than when we were in our 30s, which is incredible. But another thing I would talk to him about, I was like, your wife really wants to know you. Like, you need to connect with her more. And so she he goes, man, my wife gave me a big hug and said, thanks for letting me get to know you. She felt so loved and connected by him because he was able to be more vulnerable. I was like, she really wants to understand your challenges, what's going on with you. Like she wants to know that. And I had no idea that this would mean so much to her. It's really incredible how much their relationship improved. Yes, eye contact is so great. If you can eye gaze, even in a mirror, even when you're pleasuring, look, this is edgy. Look in the mirror and look into your left eye because that's the receptive eye. So if you're going to look into someone, you're going to look in their left eye. Your left side of your body is your feminine side. So that's receptive, right? And then connect with that and look at how amazing you look when you're turned on and how incredible your body is. So here I share your biggest takeaway. The left eye, yes. Like meets like attracts like. So this is all about empowering you to step into your highest vibration, your highest frequency, and stop dimming your light. Like you are here to shine. You have this one lifetime that you're here in this incredible body. Allow yourself to experience some of the amazingness that is here for you. And stop apologizing for yourself or worrying about making other people uncomfortable. As long as your intentions are good and that you're not trying to harm anyone, live your life. I can't tell you, when I was at the end of life with so many of my patients, when I worked in critical care, they would share their regrets with me. It would break my friggin' heart because I was like, gosh, and the people that you're worried about that you played small for, they're not here with you. They're not even knowing that you're here taking your last breaths. They're just living their life. They haven't thought about you in years, but you gave up your life because you were worried about what these people would think that aren't even here. They haven't even come to see you once while you've been in the hospital with me for over a month. They haven't even come to see you. It's so sad. And so the reason I started coaching is I was like, all right, Tantra is the tools that help open my heart, made my life so much better. After helping with open heart surgeries, I can take the role of an assisting surgeon. So if I could be an assistant open heart surgeon, and I would help with that, and brain surgeries, robotic, all kinds of things. And I was like, these are the tools people really need. I was so frustrated with being with people at maybe the end of their lives in the hospital. And I was like, you know what? I want to meet people before they get here and help them how to optimize their health, how to live and be more vibrant, how to work with their energy and stop staying stuck and stagnant. And that way I can help them so that hopefully they can avoid being in the hospital. And when they do take their last breath, it's not with regret, because that was breaking my heart. And there was just nothing I could do at that point when they would share these things with me. So that's why I'm so passionate about what I'm doing. And I'm so honored for every one of you that's here and for catching this on the replay. Definitely let me know what your takeaways are. And yeah, how self-pleasure is a mirror what you expect in your partner. There's so much more that I had to share. So I'm looking forward to the next few days together with all of you. Invite a friend to join along as well if you're comfortable with that. If you feel too self-conscious with your friends here, then this is just for you. This is a space for you to feel good and for you to be able to ask questions. I don't bite. And so hopefully you'll be comfortable asking some questions. The third day, we'll get even deeper into having more time for any kind of Q&A. And people invest thousands of dollars to be able to get me to help answer their questions. Whatever I can do to help and be supportive, that's what I'm passionate about, because this has really radically changed my life.
Day 2 of the Manifest with Tantra Challenge, I'm going to be sharing about your emotions and how to notice if you're having emotional blocks. A lot of times when we're having emotional blocks, it's really similar to having chakra blocks, because emotions are just energy and motion, and our chakras are our energy centers. One great reference book that I have, it's not something you would just want to have read out loud to you. It's more of a reference book, but it's a really amazing guide written by a chiropractor called The Secret Language of Your Body. And based on where you might be having some discomfort inside your body, or you're having a symptom or any aches or pains, that your body is trying to communicate with you and let you know that something is wrong. Whenever I do sessions with clients, if they're having some pain or some tension, I'll go in and it can even talk about who in your family this could be related to. It's really so interesting. And she understands like the energetics of the body. A lot of chiropractors are a little more tapped in because they have a really deep understanding of the human body. That's such a great resource and a reference guide. Whenever we're blocked or we're not wanting to feel our emotions, it's blocking other things in our lives. we can only meet another person's emotions as deeply as we've met our own. For me, I know because I had, a traumatic childhood, sadness was a challenging emotion for me. And it wasn't until I was an adult that a lover of mine said, "Why does it seem like sometimes you laugh when you really want to cry?" I hadn't even noticed that about myself. I was like, whoa, that's deep. I hadn't noticed that I had that pattern of doing that. They say a lot of times when people have a really funny sense of humor, and I do have a really wicked sense of humor that comes from trauma. Oh, that's my trauma. And so sadness was really challenging. Think about whenever you're a child, and a lot of people would aspire and be like, "Oh, if I could be like a famous actress." I can vividly remember watching people in movies and seeing them cry while they're acting, and that would blow my mind. I was just like, "Oh my gosh, how are they able to cry like that?" That's, oh my gosh, that would just be such a big fear for me. I was like, I just could not ever act. That would never be anything I want to do because I'm not going to just cry on demand. I don't even want to cry when I need to cry, much less to be pretend crying. So I didn't even realize how deep ingrained this was. I went through my trauma informed master coach certification. And the reason one of my coaches encouraged me to do the program is that very thing. You're only going to be able to meet your clients' emotions as deeply as you met your own. And you need to go through the curriculum in this program so that you can be a safe space when you guide your clients. Not to say we're going to be perfect. We're humans having a human experience, but that way, when they're sharing something that will be really deep or painful, I can have empathy. And maybe if I haven't had a similar experience or it reminds me of something traumatic I've experienced, I won't get triggered or activated. I can fully be present and really be a resource for them. And so it was really interesting. And I noticed how much I held back sadness. So I cried a lot in those first few months of that program. I just let the tears flow because tears are deeply healing and cleansing. And they also release the stress hormone cortisol. There's actually been recent scientific studies showing that tears contain a lot of times some of the chemicals or properties of things that would actually be healing to us. So that's why our tears are almost designed where they can drop into our mouths. So if we have an ailment or something going on, there's some kind of chemical makeup within the way our tears are made to actually help support where our body needs support in, which is really super mind blowing. Now, another thing when I was sharing earlier about being aware of the words that we're saying, and the words that we use, Dr. Emoto did this study, and I have his book called The Hidden Meaning of Water. I talk about this a lot in my self-love ebook that I wrote. I want you to remember, again, we're made of 70% water. So since we're made of 70% of water, it's really important for us to realize this. What he did was he would get water and he would, from the same source, and he would speak negative words to it, just negativity, and then put it and freeze it, and then gets little cross sections, cut it, and look under a microscope. And the water that had these negative words spoken into it, that water was all cloudy and distorted and didn't look so great. Then he had water that he would speak loving words to it, positive words of affirmation. Whenever he would put the frozen images from that under a slide, it looked almost like a snowflake, like these beautiful geometric designs. So you really got to think about, one, what we're taking in, especially as manifesting. Are we always listening to things that, like music that is always talking about like bitches and hoes and shooting people up? We've got to think about what are we consuming, and it's even going into our subconscious mind. And hearing these words when our body is made of 70% water is so important for our health, for our vitality, even our subconscious thoughts. And that's why self-love is so key. So we can start to repattern and say positive things to ourselves and be loving to ourselves instead of being our own worst critic. That way we're more empowered. And all of this goes into how we're manifesting things. So there's certain things like before Tantra and before I was aware of this, I would watch really scary movies. One movie I watched several times was Requiem for a Dream. I can't even watch that now, but I actually owned a copy. I remember having my friends watch it one time. They're like, "Why are you having us watch this movie? It's super depressing." But I just wasn't aware of it. But whenever you've grown up in a really stressful environment with a lot of trauma, that just is like your normal. It doesn't phase you the same way. But when you start to make different choices for yourself and you cultivate and create things that are more in alignment for what you're wanting to experience and being at a higher vibration, thinking more with positive affirmations and not to be toxic positivity. That's what I did. They should talk about swinging the pendulum. When we correct something, we can swing the pendulum too far the other way to overcorrect. So when I stopped going through using negative words and the way I would speak or just gossiping and talking negative all the time, when I corrected that, I initially overcorrected and I was like a little too on the positive, which is not realistic. And my daughters that were young adults then, they were like, Mom, what are you doing? This is too much for us. Such an extreme shift. But it's important that we allow ourselves or not make emotions bad or wrong, but be curious about that and think about, okay, I'm feeling this. Can I sit here and be with this emotion for a while? And what is this emotion trying to tell me? What is the message here? Be curious about it instead of being judgmental. Now, one thing that I have shared before in other spaces is that we get so used to in our environment, in our world of gossiping, even in social media and other things, you'll see who wore this better. It's always like we're criticizing people. And there is a quote, comparison is the thief of joy. So we get though into this whole victim consciousness. And it's on our TV. It's like everywhere we turn and look. And when we're getting into that mindset, we're literally lowering our vibration. And when I started understanding how I wanted to shift my energy with Tantra and the energetics of things, I had a girlfriend that we would commiserate because misery loves company. And so we were both travel nurses in LA, and we would talk about what we were upset about or the people that we were dating, what we were upset about, that he did this, XYZ. Then one day I was like, all right, I'm going to spend 24 hours and not say anything negative. And that really helped me to realize how often I was going into negative thinking or complaining. Got to think complain equals drain. And energetically, when you hang out with people, are they a drain or a faucet? Sometimes our friends need some support, right? But if they're constantly always draining and never pour back into you, you need to pay attention to that. Pay attention to how you feel energetically, how your emotions feel when you spend time with someone. So I asked this friend, we're on the phone call, and I said, hey, could you try this thing? I tried it. Can you go 24 hours without complaining or saying anything negative? That is the last phone conversation I've had with her. This was over 10 years ago. We're still Facebook friends. Occasionally she'll send me a text message, like on a birthday or a holiday or something. But she was aware. She understood that I wasn't going to be available for that anymore. I guess she wasn't able to do it. And I just didn't want to engage in those types of conversations. Conversations where we're just talking about people or being negative or putting people down or putting ourselves down. How is that really serving us? Just trying to be aware of what it is that we're taking in. And I believe I mentioned this yesterday too, is notice too, a lot of people will watch really scary things or crime stories, crime shows on TV, murder mysteries and things like that. And they'll watch that before bedtime. If I'm going to watch a movie that's challenging, I recently saw something that was a little scary, but another part of the concept of the movie was important for me. Women's beauty standards, that movie with Demi Moore. I just looked away during the movie when things got really gory and graphic, and I just did my nervous system regulation and took nice, slow, deep breaths because other parts of the movie I really enjoyed and the message in there and I wanted to see it. But I'm just not going to sit there and watch that. And I knew when I watched that movie that I was going to watch it at around 11 in the afternoon because I don't want to watch something that's so scary right before I go to bed. On a side note, when I was a little girl, my older brother was like 10 years older than me. And we lived together for a little bit of time. We had different moms. We lived with our dad from the time I was like 4 to 6. And I remember my dad would get upset with him because he would let me watch scary movies. And then I would have the worst nightmares. And sometimes I would sleepwalk once I was running through the living room. So it's just, what are we feeding our subconscious right before we're unwinding for the day? And people that are, how would you say it? If that is something that actually calms you and relaxes you at the end of the day, it's very likely you've experienced a lot of trauma because you've already been filtering out so much BS in your life, and it just is almost doesn't phase you. You almost don't realize that you're swimming in it because it's been around you so much. And I love that someone in here asked a question. I love that. What do I watch before bed? Now I'm staying up later and doing things different because I'm doing this challenge. But usually, what I do, one thing is I also have trained in functional genomics, looking at our DNA. And one thing I learned about my DNA is that my BDNF, my brain derived neurofactor, is, and my circadian rhythm is a little bit off. And I've been a nurse for decades where I worked night shifts for so many decades. And a lot of doctors and nurses have higher incidences of cancers and things because of the night shift work and how it throws off our sleep cycles. So I try now that I get to create my own schedule, I watch how I'm doing things, especially because I learned with the DNA test that this easily gets thrown off. Like when the time changes, it can impact me more, things like that. So what I do is I try to wake up when the sun is up and I try to get my eyeballs outside with the first sun, first part of the day. Another thing for energy and stuff is to go and sit, and I might journal and sit and put my feet in the earth to be grounding, or sit or touch a tree, because that's really going to charge up your energy. I also sleep with a grounding sheet underneath my sheets. You want to get sun, and the earlier you get the sun in the day, that helps to stimulate your melatonin production so you sleep better. Then what I usually do, and I have bright lights on now because we're together in this space, but whenever the sun is going down, I'll have some really goofy clip-on light blockers, orange lenses that I'll put on, and I'll turn off all my lights in my house, and I have orange, amber lights or red lights. So I'm going how our ancestors would have been without electricity and trying to limit blue screens and things like that. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll listen to a meditation, or I even have a clip from my book. I'm trying to see if it's reachable. I have a book clip and it has like little orange lights on it. And I'll sit and read more in the evening or do something like that, or do a meditation. One person that I love her meditations on YouTube is this person. She has 2 YouTube accounts. So go find the account that has hundreds of thousands of followers. She's called Rhea Earth. Love her. So I'll listen to a meditation or listen to something that's relaxing as I'm winding down for the evening, or watching something if I have my clips on, a documentary or something interesting, or a comedy, but nothing that's too heavy or too stressful at the end of the day. I'm just trying to keep in flow with my energy rhythm. That's really important. Halloween, I'll be 56. And I recently did a cellular age test. And this is before I started making the changes based on what I was tested with my DNA. My cellular age is 11 years younger than my chronological age because I do a lot of things to improve my health. Whenever I work with my clients as well, I'll talk with them about what's going on with their health, because when we want to experience pleasure, our body is an instrument to experience pleasure. So we want to fine tune our bodies, and pleasure is medicine. So if you didn't make it for day one, definitely check that replay out. Try to do some reading or do something that's meditative and get my body to start to wind down and relax. Then I sleep much better. So trying to go to sleep early and staying asleep. Like I usually try to go to bed at 9:30 and wake up at 5:30 in the morning. Those are some of the things that I do when we're stressed out. We are releasing a lot of cortisol, the stress hormone, and that ages us a lot. Eating the sugar ages us a lot too. And drinking alcohol also ages because it's loaded with sugar. Doing certain things so that I can help with my health. I want to be sharing and impacting a lot of people's lives and have that energy to do the things that I'm really passionate about. A lot of times, though, when we are really uncomfortable with emotions, we'll keep those emotions inside and they stay trapped inside of us. And how often have we said the thing, I know that I have, is someone that is like, "Are you upset?" And you're like, "I'm fine. I'm fine." And fine is feelings inside, not expressed. And so when we bottle those things up, that's what creates dis-ease in our bodies as well, because we're having these trapped emotions. One thing that I'll do is if I notice an emotion comes up for me, let's say if I'm giving a talk, and something is upsetting to me, I'll talk to that emotion for a moment in my mind. I'll make a mental note and I'll say, okay, grief, sadness, anger, whatever I'm feeling. I see you. And tonight or this weekend, I'm going to spend some time with you. And I make that promise to myself. I have some really powerful emotional release writing practices and prompts where I can release those emotions. One of my teachers is Christine Hassler. She's one of my coaches. She has a degree in spiritual psychology, her master's degree in from Santa Monica, and she was on the board there. So I learned a ton from her. And she have all these great emotional release writing prompts that I can share because she taught them to me. But one of the things when you write this out and you want to journal, you want to write it on something that you can throw away and tear up. And you want to write it like a doctor's writing, like chicken scratch, because you don't need to read it again. We don't want to type those things out because when we type things out, one, we're putting the energy of that into our devices, that frustration. But when we're putting something with a keyboard, we're just making about 10 motor neuron connections with our brain. When we write it out pen to paper, over 10,000 motor neuron connections within our brain is happening. So whatever it is, or whatever you want to say to someone, you can say it. A lot of times we think when we break up or someone has hurt us from the past or childhood, we'll think, I need to talk to them and find out. I want them to know how much that hurt me. And I can't have closure until I talk to them. That's not true. You can't have closure without talking to them, because a lot of times the people that can hurt or betray us, they don't have the bandwidth to take accountability or really be a safe space. It might do more harm than good to talk to them. What you can do is say the things that you would want to say to them and take it pen to paper, and then either safely tear it up afterwards and let it go. Or if you can do it in a safe burn and not start any fires, just let it go. Have that as being cathartic. Also, if you're in a relationship and something is really upsetting you and you don't want to get overheated when you're talking to your partner, first write down your frustrations. It's like we're discharging, we're taking that load off so that whenever we are having the conversation with that person, we won't be so ramped up. Because what happens is when our nervous system gets dysregulated, we go into Frankenstein brain and it's like danger. And then things escalate. What we want to do is be able to take nice, long, slow, deep belly breaths. When you breathe real deep in your belly and stretch it out, that stretches your nerve and your diaphragm, and it slows down your nervous system. When you slow down your nervous system and you regulate it, then Einstein brain kicks in. That's our problem-solving brain. That's why sometimes when we get in arguments, things can escalate so much because we'll say and do things we don't even mean or say the wrong thing because we don't have our logical brain on board and we can be reactive. One thing that helped me a lot, I used to be really quick to anger before Tantra. I would be the nicest person, but then if you push me to that tipping point, watch out. Also, I'm a Scorpio, that stinger would come out. And then I heard these words once, and it really helped me so much, was people's behavior is a reflection on them. My response to their behavior is a reflection on me. I can't control them. I can only be responsible for me. And my ability to respond is my responsibility. And that was a big game changer for me. Now I have more compassion. My daughters feel so safe around me because before they didn't know if I was going to fly off the handle or be mad or whatever. And now they know that when they're having challenges, they can come and talk to me, even if it's something that they're upset with me about, that I'm not going to sit there and lash out, that I can receive what they're saying and what they're sharing and not get triggered or activated by it. And then that's helped our relationship so much. Because people, we just want to be heard and to be understood, right? But we can always be pointing fingers and things can get really out of control. But using those emotional release writing practices are so powerful. It's really important that we let those emotions out. Someone in here shares, and I appreciate you sharing, that sometimes you cry on commercials, but in your own life, you are disconnected. You want to think about how we might be disconnected from our bodies. We might be disconnected from our pleasure. Like we're so numbed out towards what's going on within us. So that's a sign of a bigger challenge that we might be having. Just know that, not to have judgment on yourself, just an awareness. I want to show you something really cool from this book. Is anyone in here having any physical symptom of any aches or pains in your body? If you're open to dropping in the chat and letting me know, I can let you know what this book says. It will really blow your mind. Great, Wesley, go for it. What is it? Eczema. Eczema can also be like something is getting under your skin, something is rubbing you the wrong way. So this is awesome. Not that I'm happy that you're having these challenges, but I'm happy to share with you so you can have a better understanding. Because what's happening is our body is really through pain, through discomfort, through emotions, our body is trying to communicate with us and be like, hey, you need to pay attention to me. Something is going on. And we keep ignoring it. And then it snowballs and gets to be something bigger. So on eczema, I'll look at that one really quick. It could be not all of them. I'm not trying to put anyone on the spot, but some of these may apply or all of them may apply. Feeling unaccepted, needing to hide and suppress, feeling aggravated by your experiences with others, like people getting under your skin, erupting with anger when you don't get your way, holding your breath, and experiencing a sense of stagnation, like feeling like you're in a slump or stuck, and your energy can be stagnant too. One great thing that I recommend clients to do, that I recommend to you and I do as well, is if you can go in nature and do a primal yell like Tarzan. It seems really silly, but it's so effective. And it was so supportive, like a pressure cooker. And things can just keep loading and loading and loading up. And all of a sudden, we have the straw that broke the camel's back. All of a sudden, we are in a rage. And it might be at a very inopportune time, or we're like, man, I can't believe that I acted this way at work. I wish I would have had more self-control. But if you don't make time with intention to be with your emotions and allow your emotions to be expressed, they can be pushed out because that pressure is building and come out when you're not planning it. Great things to do are going to an anger room or a smash room where you can go and literally break things. So cathartic. If you're home where you can scream into a pillow, that's great too. Just know you don't want to sleep on that pillow. You either want to shake it out outside and wash it and shake it and let it be in the sun, or use sage spray or Palo Santo safely to get that energy of the stress out. You especially don't want to go and sleep on that pillow right after, because you might not have the best dreams. The name of the book is The Secret Language of the Body by Inna Segal. I also have it on Kindle. It's not a book to get on Audible. So just going out and being able to be in nature. Someone else shared that they're having tension headaches. Well, like headaches. Headaches are stress, overwhelm, tiredness, seriousness, too much going on, feeling out of control, self-criticism, judgment, invalidation, self-sabotage, too much thinking and analysis, like analysis paralysis, we're all overthinking, overcrowded, frustrated, or feeling undermined. Those things can be what's happening whenever you have headaches. And then someone else shared about sciatica. Some of these are shorter, and then some of them go deeper, like they're a page long, and will even give you an energetic practice that you can do to clear that energy from your body. Sciatica is feeling stuck in the past, worried about your survival. Because again, if we talked about yesterday, at the bottom of the base of the spine is the red circle. Your root chakra is about survival and safety. Your root chakra is also connected to your legs and to your feet. Feeling stuck in the past, worried about survival. Again, that's survival, feeling safe, money issues, unresolved childhood issues. Remember, I said that's also about our inner child. That chakra was formed early in childhood, and it has to do with mother-father wounds and our inner child. So unresolved childhood issues of not feeling good enough, rejecting yourself, imposing too many limitations on yourself, always finding excuses why you can't do something rather than focusing on how you can. Where in your life are you being hypocritical? Profound fear that if you're honest, you will be neither liked nor accepted, and that you will not be able to survive. Again, that's the survival chakra. Feeling burdened with too much responsibility, which stifles your creativity. And the creativity is the chakra right above, the orange one. So that chakra is stifling because it's clamping down. Think of a water hose with a kink in it, and it's not flowing all the way to the other ones. So then it's stifling up to the next chakra where the creativity is. So you want to do things so that you are working with your emotions, because these things, how we're feeling in our emotions, if they're staying trapped, our body is trying to communicate with us. Hey, you need to pay attention to me. I need some TLC. But a lot of times we'll ignore it, or we'll just take a painkiller or numb out from it, or people will have a drink as a way to numb out or not to feel it or think about it. But we've got to feel it to heal it. So it's important for us to feel these emotions. If anyone that took the chakra quiz, if you'll drop in the comments, did you notice that you had a lot of blocks in your chakras? And does that relate to what I'm sharing with you today? I'd love to know. where you are with that? Awesome. Are you open to sharing which of the chakras? So your solar plexus. Okay. Your blocks, solar plexus. That's a big one. And that's so common. Remember, I was sharing yesterday, we're usually on a hamster wheel, and people usually just operate from the bottom three chakras. And we have a block in our heart chakra, and our heart chakra connects our upper and lower chakras, and it also connects us with the world around us. But with the solar plexus, what is going on there and what is impacting that energy center that you're feeling blocked? So that's something definitely to dive deeper into. It's just if it's fully blocked. I do have an intro to Tantra. It's actually a complete comprehensive course, but that's when I named it. And then I just kept adding all these things to it. My business manager, she was looking at everything I created. She's, wow, this is really powerful. I went through everything and I have a whole section on chakras and what things to do to open your chakras. So one of the things too is that breath of fire practice. I shared a video and the email yesterday. I linked to the breath of fire video. It's on my YouTube as well, so that you can do that because that will help you to start to open up your chakras too. Now, also doing things like wearing the color that chakra is related to that's blocked. Wearing those colors is really great. Eating foods that are that color is really great. I know it sounds really silly and woo, but it's true. So that's how you can support those chakras. And whenever you're breathing or meditating, you can just put your hand there where it is and just imagine the color of that chakra being supported. And that when your hand is there on that part of your body, it's like giving yourself a little hug and then nice deep breaths into those spaces. And just imagining and having the intention as you're doing your meditation for that particular chakra is a really beautiful practice. Do the chakra colors have to be the same? Can we reassign the colors? No, they need to be the same. There's reasons that they're the way they are is for thousands of years. If you're going to support it with the use of color, you want to use the color that is related to that. And that certain chakra is going to also affect different organ systems in that part of your body. But that's a good question. I like that you have creativity with it. Let me just change it up. So a lot of times things with chakras, you can see symbols, a rainbow. It is the rainbow of all the colors being fully expressed. And that whenever all of our chakras are in flow, there is a pot of gold at the end of the rainbow. That's where we're really able to be creators of our experience. Instead of allowing life to happen to us, how can we be co-creators within life? Because we have creation energy within us. Empowerment exercises could be setting boundaries, being able to say no. Just remember, whenever you are saying yes to someone else, you're saying no to yourself. I'm a recovering people pleaser. So if you're used to saying yes to people a lot, just practice saying no for a while. And if someone invites you to something or to do something, don't respond with a yes right away. Even if you feel pretty confident it's a yes, get into the practice of saying no and just thank them. Go, oh, thanks. I appreciate that invitation. I'm going to sit with that and I'll get back to you in 24 hours or in a week, depending on when they would need the answer. But give yourself that space and really sit and meditate on it and see how that feels for you. If you're noticing where you're having the challenges right now, where you're having any pain in your body, I just want you to do this practice with me right now. So wherever it might be that you feel any tension or pain in your body or discomfort, just put your hand on that area of your body. And you can do this at any time, but we're going to do it here together. So anywhere, if it's you feel like you have tension in your neck, you can just put your hand there. And then what I want you to do is take nice, long, slow, deep breaths, big belly breaths where you're stretching your belly out. Take a nice, long, slow inhale in, expanding your belly with air like a balloon, and then let it out. And imagine as you're breathing in deep that you're breathing into this space where your hand is, and that your hand is giving your body a hug. It's giving it some TLC, and just continue to breathe deep into that space. And if you're feeling an emotion or discomfort, notice if you feel an emotion of, I feel sad, you can check and say, where do I feel that emotion in my body? And then put your hand where you're feeling that. And then just breathing into it. So you can do this with painful sensation in your body or a painful emotion. And put your hand, where am I feeling this? And then breathe into it. And imagine as you keep on breathing, the deep breaths are like little love notes to your body. That fear, that emotion, or that pain is just bubbling up to the surface. And it's easing and it's getting easier with each deep breath you take. A lot of times we stay so constricted in how we breathe. So taking nice belly breaths is really great. It's also really great to take deep breaths because we're also stimulating our solar plexus more because we can be so constricted. Whenever I was a nurse and I would take care of little babies right after they had surgery, whenever we would count a respiratory rate on a baby, we would put our hands on their belly to count the respiratory rate. On an adult, we're counting the chest rising because we have learned through being around in society when we were kids, we're very perceptive and we're seeing our peers, we're seeing adults around us be so constricted and so uptight, right? They're so restricted and then they're breathing more shallow just from the upper part of their body. But when we're born, we're meant to breathe more deeply, just like I was sharing yesterday on the emotional frequency scale. And I'll share about that here for those of you that didn't see this yesterday. This is the emotional frequency scale. Shame, when we're having shame about pleasure, whatever, that's the lowest vibration, 20 hertz. Love and loving ourselves is a high vibration, 500. If you want to attract money into your life, you need to be vibrating at least from like 250 to 280. These lower vibrations, they keep us contracted. See here it's saying contracted, and then up at the top, we're expanded. So that's what you want to do. You want to be expanded within your energy centers. Also, that impacts your energy, your emotions, because energy, emotions, the interchangeable words there. So when you breathe more deeply, you're being more expanded. And I want you to check in on yourself during the day and notice, like, even notice right now, notice that one place that we commonly hold a lot of tension in our bodies is in our jaws. So try to relax and drop the jaw. I'm going to take you on a quick relaxation breath practice. Put your feet on the floor and then put your hands in your lap and have them in the receptive mode with your palms facing up. I want you to take a long, slow, deep inhale through your nose, filling your belly with air like a balloon. Long, slow, deep exhale out through your mouth, gently relaxing your belly to your spine. Long, slow, deep inhale in through your nose. Long, slow, deep exhale out through the mouth. Again, long, slow, deep inhale through your nose, filling your belly with air. Long, slow, deep exhale out. And now just breathe at a rate that feels comfortable for you. The invitation here is for just each inhale and exhale to be longer, slower, and deeper. And if you're comfortable and if you're in a safe space where you can, close your eyes because where our attention goes, energy flows. So we want to bring your energy inward. So you just take nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Now we're going to add in some sound. Now when you take a deep inhale in and then exhale with sound, make a sigh if you can, and just let it out. Do that 3 times. Deep breath in, stretching your belly out, and then exhale. Sound is like a thief and it steals the tension from your body. We can hold so much tension in our bodies, so being able to relax is key. Just relax, let that go. Now continue to just breathe and don't get too focused on my belly is going in or out. Just nice, long, slow, deep breaths. And I want you to start to relax your body from your head to your toes. So we'll start with your scalp. Just relax, let go of any tension in your scalp. You may feel some tingling sensation on your forehead. That's normal. If not, that's okay. Now relax your forehead. Let go of any tension you're holding in your forehead. Relax your eyebrows. Soften your eyes. Let go of any tension you're holding in your face. Just relax your face. Allow your jaw to drop. Your lips to soften. Let your tongue relax in the bottom, the floor of your mouth. Now allow your shoulders to drop down. Now relax from your shoulder, down your arms, to your forearms, your hands all the way out to your fingertips. Now relax from your chest, down your torso, through your hips. Just keep with your nice, long, slow, deep breaths. Yeah, relax from your hip, down your legs and thighs, your lower legs, through your feet, all the way out to your toes. Your body should feel fully relaxed. Just notice if you notice any tingling sensation in your hands, that's just you connecting with your body energetically. And then whenever you're ready, just slowly blink your eyes open and return to the space around you. How did that feel for you? We hold so much tension. Oh, great question. Just keeping your head neutral. And the reason that you want to keep your head neutral is you're going to think where your chakras and your energy flows. You don't want to have a kink in the hose by you having your head too up or back. You want to keep it more straight. You can also lay down and do this as well. Just get really comfortable. You feel like more relaxed now. I feel like I don't want to move at all. And you don't have to. Just relax. Yes. The tingling in the hands is us connecting, and we stay so disconnected from our bodies. And our bodies hold so much wisdom for us. So just anytime during the day, you can just take a pause, listen to a relaxing song, or just to nothing is actually really great. And just sit and just be. We're human beings, not human doings, but we've been so programmed to do go all the time. Often we don't trust ourselves. I'm going to share with you is to connect to what your body is trying to tell you as far as it's a yes or a no. Get your hands. I want you to make a okay symbol. We're going to test something out. You're going to get these fingers and see how there's a link and you can pull and hold it tight. This is called muscle testing. Even in some functional medicine practices, they actually do muscle testing to check in with your body to see how you're doing. This is a way you can always check in with yourself and start to calibrate what your yes and your no is. Now we're going to calibrate and think of a name that is so bizarre, like, you know, like my name is Jimbo, or a name that's completely not your name, and say to yourself, my name is, and say a name that's completely not your name, and notice what happens with your hand. Notice if it breaks open. Now we're going to do it and we're going to say what your name is. Now notice this. Say, my name is Dominique, and then it's going to be strong, right? And say what your name is and notice the strength there. So that's a yes for you. This is truth, right? This is a true or false. So my name is Bob. That's super weak because I know I'm not Bob. If there's a food that I'm curious or a supplement or something I'm not sure about, I'll ask my body and I'll check in. I'll have the thing sitting on my lap or I'm touching it. And I'll be, does this make me stronger? And have it tell me a yes or a no. A little bit woo, but it works for me. Spirit guides, higher self, angels, and I'll breathe in, help me to figure this out and you don't want to make a whole long question and make it really confusing. It has to be very simple. Does this make me stronger? Is this yes or no? Make the question simple like that. So that's also why I have a pendulum. If you get a pendulum, this is made with carnelian crystal, but I calibrate it. And for me, it could be different for you. I'll say, is my name Bob? And it completely is still. And if it stays still and pointing down and doesn't move, I know that's a no. Then I'll say, is my name Dominique? And it starts to go, and I'm not moving with my hand, and it starts to go clock. And I know that's a yes. So I'm checking in with this and checking in first with something I know is true or false to see how is it communicating. Because for some people, it might be that it stays still for a no, and then it just goes back and forth for a yes. So you want to check in. I feel like this is also connecting like within our energy and with our intuition, our guidance, and we can get so many mixed signals with the world out there. This will really help you tune in. When you want to make a big decision for yourself, check in with yourself. You can use tools like this and just do muscle testing as well. There's also a sway test where you stand if you lean forward or back. So there's different muscle tests that you can do, but those are the two that I rely on the most. Whenever we're curious or we're wondering, what should I do? What should I do? And then we can have like analysis paralysis. We're overthinking it. We could just check in. This is what I'm saying. Your body has so much wisdom that our body holds. What is your main takeaway from today as we went into emotions and how these things can be keeping you stuck? Because if you're always stressed out, like attracts like. So the more you're stressed and you're worried and you're feared and you're thinking those things and being in those loops, you're attracting more of that to you. You're becoming a magnet for that. Not to scare you, but it's true. That's why this always happens to me. You're reaffirming that. So you don't give your power like that. And you can be relaxed, but you want to keep your chakras in alignment. So you want to keep your spine straight, but you can be more relaxed or lay down if you feel like, okay, I don't want to be holding my head up, not with a lot of pillows or anything. I want to stay flat and where your spine is neutral. So you don't have like where your head is tilted back and you're imagine a hose of water, right? Keeping the hose because you're making a bend in it. So that's the posture. Any questions from anyone as we're wrapping up for today? I hope this was helpful. We've been taught to have shame about our emotions, or we repress or suppress our emotions. And the more we push these things away, the more stuck we're going to be because it's just not going to go away. Thank you so much. Sending you so much love too. I appreciate that. Tune in tomorrow because I'm going to go into Tantra practices to boost intimacy. We can have fear. We have these emotions. We can have had a past romantic relationship. And then we don't want to be vulnerable. We don't want to be open because we're afraid of being hurt. So we're guarded and we're putting these walls up and guarding. We think it's protecting us, but it's actually keeping our blessings from reaching us. Be like, okay, I've faced challenging times before and I've survived those times. I'm still here. So I trust that I'm going to work through this as well and have resilience. The violet is in the higher chakras, but what you can do is bring that energy up through because that green chakra, when it's blocked, it's blocking the purples and the violet ones. So that could actually be your body or your wisdom trying to tell you, hey, I want to bust through this and get rid of this blockage. So I reach the colors of the purples that I'm wanting to. Someone said their main takeaway is to trust the messages from the body. Thank you for sharing that. You can reply to the emails that I sent out with the chakra quiz and the replay. And if you have a question about one of the chakras that's blocked, just send me an email about it and I can share some quick tips with you too. You're welcome, everyone. This is day 3 of Manifesting with Tantra. Today, we're going to focus on how to boost your intimacy with Tantra practices. Often, we do not know how to have true deep intimacy with another person. This ties into we can only meet someone's emotions as deeply as we've met our own. That goes with intimacy too. If we have blocks or barriers to connecting within ourselves and we're not deeply connected within, we're numbed out, disconnected, that's going to show up in our relationships. I shared this on day 1. Relationships are just mirroring back to us the relationship we have with ourselves. Once we start to improve the relationship within ourselves, all of our relationships start to improve. That's what I noticed with Tantra. Working with Pink Tantra focuses on self-love in your heart chakra. This chakra is blocked by a majority of people because we've had heartbreak, challenging experiences, mother-father wound, our inner child is hurting. So we put these walls and blocks up because we're afraid. I'm going to talk about masculine and feminine energetic dynamics today. Before Tantra, I leaned very heavily in my masculine energy because I was super guarded and I was being this warrior and ready to take anyone that was going to challenge my peace. I felt like staying in my power was the way I could control myself from getting hurt, but that's actually an illusion. Before Tantra, I thought vulnerability was a sign of weakness. And through Tantra, I learned that actually my ability to be vulnerable is a superpower. When I started with Tantra and started healing my relationship with myself and loving myself more deeply, all my relationships improved from my coworkers, my friends, my romantic relationships with my children, family, all across the board. Because there's still different types of relationships. Even if it's not romantic, it's still reflecting back to you the relationship you have in yourself. Whenever we start to improve on that, all of our relationships start to improve. I also started attracting better lovers and better partners. You got to think about law of attraction and law of vibration. When you raise your vibration and your frequency and you're elevating your energies, those of you who've been here and seen the first couple of days, I showed you the emotional frequency scale and also law of vibration. You're going to attract things to you that are of a similar vibration. A lot of times, certain friendships will fall away as you start to elevate higher. And you don't have to have a big knockdown, drag out argument about it. But when people can see that we're shifting and changing, if they're having resistance about changing and showing up in those ways, our changes and transformations can really make them uncomfortable. It reminds me of a meme that I've seen. You may have seen this. It's the cartoon of a caterpillar having a cup of tea with a butterfly. And the caterpillar is telling the butterfly, "You've changed." And the butterfly is, "Yeah, we're supposed to." The other part of that I had to learn too is that a lot of times when we start to shift and change in this journey, you'll want to go back and tell old friends a lot of times, do this. And you really want to support them because you know how amazing and empowering and healing it's been for you and you care about your friends. So you really try to talk to them and get them to get on board and make those same changes. One, it's difficult enough to create change when it's something we want, much less if someone else wants it. One of the things I'll tell my clients when they have major shifts within themselves is that remember, you can't speak butterfly language to caterpillars. And we don't need to judge people that are in a caterpillar stage. Allow them to be where they are. When they're ready to have their awakening or elevate up, they'll know when that time is ready. Maybe they're supposed to do that in a different lifetime. This lifetime, they're supposed to be chilling. Who knows? It gets to be a lot if you're trying to be really convincing and telling people. Just know that there's other people around you and your vibe attracts your tribe. Lourdes is saying she's very authentic. That's when I met her in person at an event. We just completely clicked. I was like, oh, that's my type of human right there. Now, with other friendships that fell away, it wasn't an argument or a disagreement. It's just we were not at the same vibration. We weren't having the same interest anymore. Someone was sharing, and I can't remember where, but they were saying it's almost like a relay race. And when a relay race, you're handing off the baton. So you can reach back for a friend or a loved one to catch up with you. But if you stop or if you keep looking back as you're running, you're going to trip over yourself. You're not going to win your own race. So we just need to trust that when they're ready to catch up to us, they will. And if they want to, then we can hand off to them. But if they're not wanting to do that, not to stay stuck in the patterns of always trying to rescue others or have them catch up with us. And just know a lot of times when we're manifesting in the universe, it's almost like if you're going to a buffet and if your plate is really full, you do not have room to put more of the desserts and all the yummy food onto your plate. So sometimes things need to fall away. And when they fall away, just trust and know that something better is on its way in. This is the universe is making space for something better to show up for us. Whenever something happens and I have a loss, I will just remind myself, okay, or if there's something that I want, I'll be like this or something better than when I'm manifesting, because a lot of times we'll limit ourselves with our manifestations. We'll just, I want this, but maybe the universe has something bigger in store for us and we don't want to limit that possibility. And then whenever things do fall away, I trust that the universe is guiding me and that there's something better for me. There's something better that I'm supposed to be doing or focusing my energy or attention on. And so just certain things start to fall away and I just trust and allow that process. Today is a super full moon. People tend to be more emotional. As we talked about emotions yesterday, people tend to be more emotional and reactive on a full moon. And before I was into woo and things like that, I became a nurse when I was 19 and I worked critical care and I worked in the cardiac care unit on the night shift. I started noticing we would have more codes, more chaos with family members or combative patients or doctors just being jerks. All these crazy things would happen. And I would ask my coworkers, I finally started noticing, I was like, wait, is it a full moon outside? I even had told one of my bosses when I was going to be able to make my own schedule, I was like, I just want to schedule myself to where I don't work on a full moon because we're really high in our emotions during the full moon. So doing the practices, like I share with you, to calm yourself down and take nice, slow, deep breaths and just be aware of how the energetics of how our energy is and of the universe and the moon around us is impacting us. I'm going to talk a bit more with intimacy. I work with couples and singles. A lot of times, though, when I'm helping people with relationships or having deeper intimacy, one partner may be interested, but the other one isn't quite on board. You know how that can happen in relationships, right? And it's not to say that one person should be solely responsible for what's going on in the relationship, but I've worked with people that their partner didn't even know they were working with me. I had a woman that was successful at the head of the company that she worked. She had a small child with her husband. They were lacking the desire and the passion in their relationship. She wanted to work with me. I noticed that she was leading a lot in her masculine energy. And I'm going to break that down. The energy doesn't have to do with gender at all. It's just these energetics within us. We're all a combination of masculine and feminine energy. And that's also what that yin yang sign is representative of. Males are even more of a balance of masculine and feminine energy because you have the XY chromosome. But because in our society and because of the patriarchy, we have been uncomfortable with feminine energy. We've seen it as too emotional. We view it as weaker. We don't want to be seen as weak. And think of all the job systems and careers that have been put into place for the past decades. And a lot of these companies have been built by men. The work structure, the work life is with men, of how that goes. So women to be taken seriously in these workplaces will lean a lot into our masculine energy. When I had the training to take the role of an assisting surgeon, even though there's a lot of women or nurses in that role, mainly men would get that special training. So I would have to lean in, and I'm being like an assistant surgeon, I would have to lean into my masculine energy to be taken seriously, to not have people try to push me around, things like that. There's a lot of power dynamics a lot of times, especially when you're working with surgeons sometimes. I have worked with some really incredible ones, but I have worked with some that really can be challenging. So this woman, she was really heavy in her masculine energy. And they had a little girl, and her husband was going through a depression. He used to be super fit. He was not working out very much anymore. He would stay in bed and sleep a lot. He just wasn't really showing up in relationship. He put on a lot of weight. When I was talking to her, she wouldn't even let him do certain things for their 3-year-old daughter, pack the daughter's lunch. She just had to control every little thing. And I spoke to her one day. I said, what do you think is like the worst thing that going to happen when he makes lunch? Do you think he's going to food poison her? What is the worst thing that could happen? Because when you're not showing him that you trust him, then he can't lead in the family. And if you're not allowing him space to lead, that's why he's holding back so much. So you need to change with your energy and relax a little bit, surrender, and trust him to take the lead. And he did. And he started working out more. He surprised her and her daughter with these amazing picnics and dates and gifts. Because before she wanted to know every detail. He couldn't plan surprises for her because she just always had to know everything and be on top of everything. And I was like, just trust him and see what happens. And when she started changing things within herself, because again, it's a mirror, that whole dynamic of that relationship had a ripple effect. And at the end of us working together for a few months, she messaged me and was like, oh my gosh, he finally ravished me in the shower. One documentary I recommend to my clients, it's really great for co-parenting. It's called Fair Play, the Fair, F-A-I-R, Fair Play documentary. I used to could watch on Netflix, and they have a card deck. And one of my coaches, he had 4 kids under 4 for a while because they had a set of twins, and he's super active in how he raises his children. Like he is just a devoted father. He's just so beautiful. I've been to his home and seen how they, in real time with their little toddlers, teach them nervous system regulation. It's really quite incredible. Now he has a team, so he only works about 15 hours a week for his company and his coaching that he does. So he had the extra time. He does a lot to participate. He's very hands-on in his family. Would do a lot to get up early when with new babies, all these things. And so he said that he and his wife, actually, that's how I learned about this documentary. They got the deck of cards for Fair Play, and it shows you how you're breaking up the work in the home. And he was so shocked at how many more cards his wife was holding than him. And this was him being more progressive and being more mindful and super involved and not working a regular over 40-hour a week job outside the home. But there's a lot of being the CEO of a home. There's a lot of behind the scenes things that goes into play. And sometimes women will just do the things and will think it can take longer to explain it to someone else to do it. So we just go ahead and do it. And other people don't even understand the things that are really happening and what's being done. When you start to understand this, it helps within your dynamic because men will be like, my wife isn't desiring sex. If she's exhausted and she's not resourced, and especially this, if your partner, male or female, is people please or whatever, doesn't have boundaries and is putting everyone else's needs in front of their own and doesn't even have a moment to pause for themselves, doesn't even have a moment just to just unwind and have a day for themselves, they're not going to feel sexy to make time to have romance within the relationship. They don't even have time for themselves. So you think they're going to prioritize sexy time when they don't can't even prioritize the basic things that they need for themselves? The biggest thing you can do is just ask, like, how can I support you today? Is there something I can take off your plate or do for you? Have Instacart bring the groceries. Have someone help to clean things around the home. Do whatever you can so that you both are more resourced and have the energy to put into your relationship and have intimacy with one another. Based on what we've learned, a lot of times by watching adult videos, we never got the best education about it. When we're taught about these things, we're taught shame around it. Wait until you get married. Don't get an STD. Don't get pregnant. Never are we taught about the power of this and how it can be deeply healing, just like the song by Marvin Gaye, Sexual Healing. Deep, profound healing can happen when you know how to make love to someone's soul, when you know how for your chakras to connect to one another energetically and to surge that energy through both of your bodies with lovemaking. It is radically different. Like for me, now that I've experienced that, I'll have periods where I'll just be celibate because I'm just not interested in having regular sex. I would rather have a pleasure practice on my own, do a tantra self pleasure ritual. I just can't. I can't deal with the mediocre stuff. I work with male clients too, and women, they'll refer their husbands to me because I'll share with them. I'm like, if I guide your husband on some of these techniques on how to make love, then you're actually going to be desiring sex more than they are. Your husband's going to all of a sudden be the one that's, oh, not tonight, honey, I have a headache, or your partner, right? Because women, we have a huge capacity to have amazing experiences, but our arousal scales are different. Men are like a microwave. They get turned on really quick and then boom, they can be done really quick. Women were like a conventional oven. We need to be preheated. The dish needs to be baked for quite a bit of time before it's going to be done. And so we're missing one another. A friend of mine, she was saying, oh my gosh, I don't know why you want to have sex for a long time. If it's this jackhammer moves that most people have learned to do, I don't want to do that for a long time either. But when it is something that really is so slow and sensual and passionate, when it's something like that, it's an experience and time just stands still. My first tantric lover, I had an experience over 5 hours and we weren't on any substances. And it felt like maybe an hour passed by at the most. Time flies when you're having fun. And I had the most amazing experiences. I never even knew I had the capacity to have that much pleasure. When I reflect back, I know that when I was with lovers in the past, I would almost like being on a horse and holding the reins and holding back because I would hold back my orgasmicness. I would hold back my full level of pleasure that I could have because I could tell and I was concerned that I would push my lover to the point of no return. So I would hold back. And then when I was with this lover, he had studied Tantra for a year. He had dated a Tantra coach who she ended up being one of my first Tantra teachers. And whenever I was with him, I noticed, I didn't know that he had studied Tantra. The first 2 times we were together, I did not know. And it was such an incredible, literally life-changing experience that happened to me over a decade ago that put me on this path. And I could notice in his body that no matter each time I was having an orgasm, he was just unshakable. I was like, wow, he's solid. Like, this is not phasing him. So then I was like, wow, I really get to play here. And he was really encouraging me. Like, I'm the goddess. He's like honoring each one of my orgasms. So he's also a meditation teacher. He used to be a pro football player. And because of the meditation practices, he knew how to be really dropped in and present and connected. That creates deep intimacy. When someone is just going through the motions and they might be in their head and their fantasy, or like I had another lover that before I knew about Tantra that I had 20 orgasms with him once, but he told me later, oh, I was doing math equations in my head so that I wouldn't finish too fast. I never was intimate with him again. I didn't know why. I didn't desire to be intimate with him again. And then when I discovered Tantra, I realized, oh, it's because I wasn't feeling connected with him. He was just going through motions with me, but he wasn't fully dropped in and present because he was trying to last longer, which I appreciate that effort, but it wasn't doing it for me. If you're not driving anything and you can, I want you to try something. I want you to get your hands and put them together and rub them back and forth really fast. Okay, now I want you to get your hands and I want you to rub them back and forth really slow. Take your time. Notice how much sensation you can feel when you're going slow. Now, our brain is our largest sex organ. So whenever there's that rapid fire thrusting, like a jackhammer movements, whenever that's happening, our brains can't even process all that and it's really numbs us out. So the male is efforting and putting forth all this work and this effort, but it's really not doing that much. And the woman is, okay, yeah, go ahead and come. You can finish because it's boring. It's not going to, it's not doing that much for us. Now, some women that might be disconnected from their bodies or they've had trauma or other reasons are numbed out, or because they've also seen adult movies and they think this is how it should be, they might be like, oh, harder, whatever, because they're really disconnected and feel numbness inside of their bodies because of other things. Or they just want it to be done because they're really not enjoying themselves. If you get your hands and as you're rubbing them really slow, if you breathe deeply in that, the breath is going to help you to have even more pleasure. So whenever you're having intimacy with a partner and connecting, you're going to want to do one practice that I spoke about on Tuesday was on eye gazing, because the eyes are the windows to the soul. So you're going to look into your lover's left eye because that's the receptive eye. It's the feminine side of the body, the receptive. Masculine is more like penetrating energy and more receptive. So this is the right side of your body's masculine. And you can do this outside of the bedroom, fully dressed. And there's a position that you can do that's called yab, where one lover's sitting with their legs crossed, and then the other lover can have their legs wrapped around them. And then your chakras are lining up. And it's really great because you can caress each other's bodies. You can do this clothed or unclothed. And just start to breathe deeply together. You can even hug each other and have your hearts next to each other and synchronize with deep breathing. And then sit back and do some eye gazing and really drop in and connect with that person and just feel sharing loving energy and devotion. And then when you're making love to them, do it as an honoring, like a worship of them and really honoring their bodies and taking your time with them. If you're single and you don't have a partner, another thing you can do is practice eye gazing with a candle, with a flame. Now, I recommend non-toxic candles because you got to be careful. A lot of these perfumes and toxins and things in our environment, these air fresheners, they're hormone disruptors and they're super toxic and they really throw our hormones off and not safe. So you want to use non-toxic candles, watch what the wick is, be aware of what it is that you're doing, but you're just going to get the candle flame and then just take nice slow deep breaths and just stare at it and see how long you can stare at it without blinking too much and just breathe deeply in. That way you can drop in and work on being present, because the more you can drop in and be present, and this is why meditation practices help you be a better lover, because again, your brain is your largest sex organ. And when you meditate, the longer a man can stay in a meditative state, the longer he can last in bed. The longer a woman can be in a meditative state, the more easily she will be able to orgasm. How many times are we making love to someone and then we're thinking about the to-do list, something we forgot to do, stressful conversation, something we're worried about tomorrow. What are the kids doing? The dirty clothes in the corner. Oh my gosh, how does my body look? We're over here with the monkey mind and it's distracting us from our pleasure. What Tantra helps you to do is to use your five senses to drop into your body so you feel more pleasure. Because we're so distracted. In our modern world, the majority of the time, we operate from the neck up. We're so disconnected from what's going on in our bodies, disconnected from our emotions. When we're disconnected from ourselves, we're not going to be able to connect deeply with our lover. So starting to connect with yourself. But we've been programmed from as young children to be like these robots, these machines. What grades are you making? What are your SATs? What college are you getting into? What is your degree in? Where are you working? How much money you're making? And then oh, what car am I going to have? What house am I going to buy? It's all showing people like keeping up with the Joneses, showing, oh, I have this and I have this, and I'm at this rank and within my job, and this is how smart I am. But we're so disconnected from our body. One of the things I teach my clients how to do is have non-ejaculatory orgasms and have stamina for hours. One of my clients is, wow, I can feel my orgasm from the top of my head to my big toe. Another client that Tiger was failing him. He was married for over 30 years and couldn't make love to his wife. Now they're having better sex in their 60s than when they were in their 30s together, which is so incredible. I feel so much power in my penis. I wish I discovered this 15 years ago. I'm a new person to myself. I'm a new partner to my wife, and you helped me heal of familial generational trauma. It was really incredible to support him on his journey. Today, I had a long conversation catching up with someone that I coached 5 years ago, and they're at this other metamorphosis in their life, and they're wanting me to guide them again. It's just really incredible what is possible that we don't even know is possible for us to experience in our bodies. You can experience levels of pleasure will blow your mind. And one of the biggest tools is meditation and then breathing deeply. Especially for women, there are times where we can be orgasmic and we can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm about to have a big orgasm. It's about to happen. This is so good. And then all of a sudden it just appears. It's just gone. It's like when you have something, you're thinking of something, it's right on the tip of your tongue and then it's gone. It feels like that, but more frustrating. And you're like, what happened? Then when I started studying Tantra, I realized what was happening. What was happening is that there's excitement can build. It feels so intense, so juicy, right? And then without noticing it, we breath hold. We get tense and we're like, and we'll hold our breath in that moment. And I want you to think again of a candle flame. If you take the oxygen away from it, the flame flickers out. Same with our orgasms. So breathing deeply through your body. And that for men, if you'll keep breathing deeply and show, because we have mirror neurons, and show that and even whisper in your lover's ear and say, breathe deep with me. And just imagine breathing that pleasure all up through your body. You can feel amazing levels of pleasure. Those are some of the things that can help you. And another thing is to dance before you're going to have self-pleasure or be with a lover. Dance, because dance includes the 3 tenets of Tantra: breath, sound, and movement. You're breathing more deeply when you're dancing. You're using sound and you're moving to sound. You're listening to sound. And then the movement, the energy gets flowing as you're moving your body, especially doing like a circle 8 with your hips and just swaying your hips in a circle 8, because you're going to get more blood flow to your sex organs. And that's going to make everything so much juicier. Then make love with your partner or pleasure yourself and notice how much more aroused and turned on you'll be. You just have to take that time and have that intentionality with that. So Yab Yum practice is a practice that's really great, is a Tantra practice. The eye gazing intimacy is really beautiful as well. And just slowing things down. We're always in such a rush all the time. And then connecting to your body. Start to love on your body, and whenever you're self-pleasuring, start to notice different sensations. Try different things. Don't always go to the same thing that you usually do. And for males, don't always use the crazy super gorilla grip. Like, change up how you're touching yourself. And in Tantra, the word for penis in Sanskrit is lingam, which means wand of light. And for vagina, vulva, the word is yoni, Y-O-N-I, which means sacred space. So wand of light is literally what it feels like. And I had a lover recently, I was sharing with him, I said, I've never had to teach you Tantra, because whenever we got together, you had such good energy and you were really connected with your body and with your energy. So I've never had to show you anything. Like, he's a really great lover for me to have. And so we had a really amazing experience recently. And I was trying to explain to him, I said, I literally can feel like your energy surging through your lingam, like up through my body. And he was like, wow, I never really thought about it like that. But yeah, that's true. It's a really incredible experience. You've heard this where it's, oh, people that can dance are better lovers. But what it is, it's not that if that person knows how to be on Dancing with the Stars and they're such a great dancer, it's the fact that Someone that dances has good mind body connection. When you know how to have mind body connection and you're tuned into your body, just like someone that's been a pro athlete, you have really great mind body connection. You're not just operating like a robot and everything is about what do I think? And we think knowledge is power. It's not. Knowledge that we just keep up here and we understand a concept, we can intellectualize it. If we don't let it drop down into our body and embody it and be that wisdom and live that way, which is one of the goals with Tantra, then we're not creating a change. It's really not powerful. Being powerful is when you know how to transform yourself and be the alchemist with these practices, with these energetics. I've noticed that my best lovers are actually so super connected with their bodies. And if someone is like really stiff and uptight and an overthinker, everything is just not flowing. They're not online for you. When we think about energy, we'll think about, oh, my phone, is it charged up? See, right now I'm charging, right? We'll think about, how is this charged up? Is my devices charged up? I make sure I have electricity in my house. How often do we think about what's going on with my energy? We are energetic beings. What's going on with my emotions? We just keep forging ahead, task after task in the rat race and neglecting ourselves. And that shows up in our relationships. It shows up in our health. It shows up in our bank account, because how we do one thing is how we do everything. It shows up in all areas of our life. I mean, like, check in the comments and see if anyone has any questions. Someone says, where do you find these men? They find me. It's great. I love it. I have attracted the most magnificent men. It's incredible. Incredible. I've had experiences. I would tell my friends, they're like, you need to write a book. I have had some really incredible experiences with men. The more that I started working on myself, I attracted better men. So we will often think, I want someone like that. And we put the focus on them. And if they're not that, we're like, you're not this and you don't have that. But we're not checking ourselves. How is our energy? What is our heart like? How connected are we to our bodies? Do we deny ourselves pleasure? Do we not fully love ourselves? Exactly. So what you're wanting from another, start to be that for yourself. Show the universe by manifesting, show the universe what you're available for. Start to be your own best lover. And through tantric self-love and those practices, when you start to be your own best lover, you attract better lovers. And or if you're already in a relationship, that relationship will improve. Or if it's an unhealthy relationship, you may realize that relationship isn't serving you anymore. One or the other, because you're going to have a period of growth, but don't let that scare you. I've had amazing, incredible experiences. It makes it challenging though, because in just the mediocre, regular stuff, I'm just like, I just can't be bothered with it. When I understood the energetics of Tantra, because before, my mother never taught me about dating. My mom was a wild thing. But when I was younger, my mother, all she would ever ask me was, what's the guy good looking? And then if he wasn't super good looking, did he make a lot of money? That's all she ever asked me. She didn't ask me if he had a kind heart, if he was treating me with respect. She did not instill those values in me. And I dated a lot of good looking men. And when I went to LA, when I had my midlife crisis and I was modeling men, oh my goodness, I was like a kid in a candy store. I was dating all these male models. The guy that was my first tantric lover, he was actually in an issue of People magazine, The Most Beautiful Men, and David Beckham was on the cover of that issue. And he was in there as one of the sexiest men. And that's what I would look for. And I didn't even realize that was like this metric I had set for myself, because that's all my mom would ask. So I was always like, oh, the best looking. So I dated some incredibly good looking men. What is the inner beauty? Because I could also be with some good looking men that were narcissistic or had toxic or unresolved childhood wounds and traumas, because my unresolved childhood wounds and traumas were attracting that. So then for me, this comes into play a lot. I was parentified by my mother. She was an alcoholic. So I had to mother my mom. And then I end up not being aware that I pick partners that I can mother so that I can fix that wound that I have. Because then if I can have a healthy relationship with someone that's like that or similar to that, and we don't realize that we're doing this, and it impacts our relationships. I'm not available for that anymore. I'm not here to be anyone's mom. The work that I do, I'm working with mother-father wound, inner child healing as well. I also help women be multi-orgasmic or be able to have orgasms with penetrative sex, help men overcome PE and erectile dysfunction and porn addiction. There's a whole range of things. One of my clients already had mastered non-ejaculatory orgasms, and he was having a lot of stress in that corporate America, and he was in his 60s and had worked like crazy, been a workaholic for many decades. And he started having an irregular heartbeat, atrial fibrillation. He wanted me to help him with nervous system regulation. So that's what I started working with him on. And his wife thought I was his breathwork coach. She didn't know I was a Tantra coach. I would just work through Zoom and guide him on his practices. And they do the intimate practices after our sessions and then give me an update on how that's going. They're just having conversations, fully dressed, just like you and I here. And then we dive deep into what are their intimacy blocks, their pleasure blocks, all that. Then what happened was all of a sudden his wife started, we're actually in a session, and his wife was like, how long are you going to be in this session? Later, he was like, oh my gosh, my wife wanted to make love this morning. I had no idea. She was ready for me whenever we got off from the call. And then she started initiating sex a lot more. And I asked him, hey, how long has it been since she initiated sex with you? He says, it has been decades. He's in his 60s. Decades. He had no idea that there were two dynamics. And the next one that ties into what I'm going to share. One dynamic was his nervous system was dysregulated. So if you're a bundle of nerves and stress, for women to be the most orgasmic, we must feel safe. And women are very intuitive. We may not know what's going on, but we can sense it. And if you don't feel safe and you feel stressed out and nervous and your nervous system is dysregulated, then it's going to be repelling and we're not going to be interested in making love. We'll be like, oh no, I'm not available. But I don't know why, but I just feel turned off now. So when he started to regulate his nervous system, he started to feel safer for her. Another thing is he had never seen like a healthy masculine, feminine energy dynamic. So let me explain that a little bit. I want you to think of a battery. Picture a battery, and on one end of the battery is a positive charge, and the other end of the battery is a negative charge. And this is not to say that one of the energies is positive or negative, but just so you can understand. You have to have the opposing energetics for there to be the spark of the energy within the battery. Same with our masculine and feminine energy. When a couple is together, regardless if they're the same sex or opposite sex, it doesn't matter about genders. If they're both staying in masculine energy or feminine energy, there's not going to be passion or a spark. You're going to feel like you're cohabitating. It's going to feel like you're roommates. You won't have that passion there. Because when we start to be around each other a lot, we start to be in the same energy. And especially when I have clients that are female attorneys and these big power positions, they're also having this challenge because they don't know how to turn off from the masculine energy. And there's a lot of reasons that women, we stay in masculine energy because we're safe. We don't want to be sexually harassed. We don't want to be taken seriously. There's a lot of reasons. And so that it's really hard to flip between these things, especially if we're not aware of it, because it's just how we've learned to survive in this world and to be taken seriously and be successful. So then we go to our partner and we're both resting in masculine energy. That presents a problem. Now, my client, he was saying before things started shifting, he was like, oh, my wife is like nagging me all the time. And I shared with him, I said, you know what? She's just as tired of nagging you as you're tired of hearing it. He had never seen modeled for him a healthy masculine energy. And because he never had seen a healthy masculine, and I said, how was your mom with your dad? He goes, oh, my mom was like really sweet with me. I said, yeah, but how did she treat your dad? Oh, she would shut his dad down a lot. I said, see, so even though she didn't directly shut you down, kids were very perceptive and our subconscious brain is programmed. Our subconscious mind makes up over 93% of our decisions, and it's programmed. It's like a sponge from ages 0 to 7. So you're seeing this in your environment as a young boy, and then you're realizing, oh, I need to behave a certain way because I see from what is happening with my dad, he gets shut down when he acts this way. So he never got to see modeled like a healthy masculine role model. So I share with him some of my male coaches that are really great in other spaces where he could look and see how men, maybe he goes, I don't like to go to the golf club, go to the locker room and hear how some of those guys talk so trashy. I would just make his skin crawl because I didn't feel comfortable. And he was more in his feminine energy. The feminine energy is great for us. But also when I got him to lean more into the masculine, that increased what we call the polarity within that relationship with his wife. And she stopped nagging him as much. But I said, if she doesn't feel that you know how to take the lead, she's going to try to lead and to be nagging you. For both of your sakes, start to take the lead in the initiative in some ways and let her trust you that you're safe. You're a safe space. And their relationship really took off. So it was really incredible. Let me see what everyone is sharing in the chat. I love this. Someone said, men, women are everywhere, but the awareness in them is missing. That's the thing. Yeah. And that's the challenge. So many people are not self-aware. They haven't worked on their mother-father wounds. When I work with people, is we go back into these things and dive in deep and see where intimacy blocks could come up. And it says, growing up with a dad who didn't lead and always directed me to my mom when decisions needed to be made. Yeah. A lot of us can have experienced these types of things. And this generational trauma just keeps being passed down. So being able to play within masculine and feminine energy, when you can have that dance and play within those energetics and go back and forth within masculine and feminine, that is really sexy. It's really incredible. And then when you're with a lover, sometimes you could be in the masculine and they could be more in their feminine. And there's nothing wrong with it. But a lot of men will shut down their feminine energy because they don't want to be seen as weak. That's why you'll see young boys, or when they're 18 and they're graduating high school, they're joining the army, or they're being in a sports team. They're doing everything to be almost a hyper masculine to prove how tough they are and how much they're a man, because they don't want anyone telling them that they're weak or this or that. We have been taught for so long that feminine energy is a weakness, but feminine energy, there's a lot of intuition, creativity, a lot of amazing things from the feminine flow of energy. But even women are taught to be against other women, or women are taught, we're thinking we can have a woman be president because, oh my gosh, women are too emotional. Maybe they would hit the button and start a war. They could be PMSing. We don't need a woman to be in charge. But look, for how many hundreds of years have mainly men been in charge, and how many wars have we had? Women were conditioned to think that the feminine shouldn't be trusted. But feminine is such a beautiful energy to tap into. A lot of very successful men turn to women in their lives for the wisdom and the intuition, the guidance from the divine feminine. We're able to create life, and we're a portal in the universe to bring life in through. And I think some of the things that we're able to be, like easily be multi-orgasmic, and other things has some men shut down. There's unhealthy masculine and there's unhealthy feminine. And I had unhealthy masculine energy before Tantra. I operated like Samantha on Sex in the City. And I would approach sex so much like a man, because it's almost, I'm going to run game on you before you run game on me. I would just be like, oh, what is your style? How you like to make love or hook up? I would interview them to see if they were a good prospect for me to be with. And I would just be like, oh, let's just, we can just hook up. I was just totally DTF. It was wild. I was a wild child. I'm a Scorpio, born on Halloween. I even had some guy who was a model in LA, and he said, oh my gosh, I can't believe how rude. You didn't even call me back or anything. You don't even respond to me anymore. And I just said, you got an audition and you didn't get a call back. I don't know what to tell you. But especially in LA, you got to think, LA traffic is really tricky. It can take you an hour and a half or so to go somewhere. So I'm just thinking, I don't want to drive through LA traffic. And if I'm going to go and be with you and it's not going to even be that great or even last as long as it took me to drive here, especially when it's going to be a round trip, I could just handle things myself from home. So that's just how I was. But whenever I started being with lovers, that we can have this really amazing relationship and connection, and I got out of my ego as well, and I was able to drop my masculine energy, and I was able to be intimate and be receptive. The level and the capacity that was there within my experiences was so much richer. It completely shifted. It was much better. We're all beautiful and we have amazing treasure within us. And so just checking in with ourselves and being able to discover that buried treasure within ourselves. Community is so important. I'm wanting to build more community and having more experiences like this is because we're having an epidemic of loneliness. The Surgeon General, Dr. Murphy, issued a paper saying loneliness as a current U.S. epidemic. And it has a negative impact on your health. It is the equivalent to smoking 15 cigarettes a day. And loneliness usually stems from trauma. If we've had trauma or been hurt by other people, we just feel like it's safer to be on our own. But it's really eating away at us, because in community and having connection is so important. And that's why I wanted to come together and have these calls and share conversations with each one of you today. There was a book written by a palliative care nurse, and palliative care is end of life. Her name is Bronnie Ware, and it was the top 5 regrets of dying. And the number one regret I'm going to share here is I wish I had courage to live a life true to myself, not what others expected from me. Put a yes in the chat if you've ever experienced or felt that. What I love about Tantra is it helps you tap into your authenticity, to let go of all the pressures that we have by society, by peers, by parents of who we should be, and to really check in and be like, is that really my belief or my truth? Or is that something that's been programmed into me? Start to be curious about who you truly are and what you really believe in. Then second regret is I wish I hadn't worked so hard. The third regret is I wish I had courage to express my feelings. Again, like I shared yesterday, fine. When people say they're fine, feelings inside not expressed. The fourth one is I wish I had stayed in touch with my friends. And the fifth one is, I wish I had let myself be happier. And through community, through relationships, through connections, through having friends, this is how we're really empowering ourselves. And when we can allow our freak flag to fly and we stop dimming our light, we find like-minded people that share ideas and thoughts or into growth mindset or whatever things that we like to nerd out on. But if we are keeping this to ourselves and we're afraid to shine our light, then we have a challenge. I even noticed I'm really big on being who the fuck I am. But I noticed that because on social media, a lot of my things will get banned or reported because people get so triggered whenever anyone shares any sex positive content, especially like, how dare a woman, who is she to be talking about this? Because a lot of my male counterparts, they don't seem to have the challenges that I have. And they have tons of views and hundreds of thousands of followers. It's more comfortable for men to be talking on these topics. I noticed, I was like, wow, because I have to censor my posts and I have to be sure I'm sharing something and it's not going to get reported and flagged. Subconsciously, that started impacting me and started diluting how I share my message. And that really pisses me off. And I'm just like, nope, no more. I am here. And that's why I wanted to have this 3 days to spend with you now, because I'm able to talk about things. There's so much more. I've spent tens of thousands of hours and tens of thousands of dollars studying, becoming a certified Tantra educator. I've been a nurse for over 30 years. I'm a trauma-informed certified master coach, and I've had incredible deep healing for myself and the ways that I show up and help my clients who are showing up for themselves and giving them the tools. One thing that I help them do is to be able to compress time, because we can make more money. We don't get time back. But when someone can give you the shortcuts and you can reach a goal faster, because I want you to think about it like this. Imagine a jar. And when you're inside the jar, you can't look at the label to see what it's saying on the outside. That's why having someone that can look from the outside looking in at your challenge can see those things that you're missing, to see your blind spot. So whenever I work with clients, I'll get to know them and I ask questions to see maybe what their blocks are. What is this unhealthy pattern that continues to play out? Where did that start? How can we start to shift that and have a pattern interrupt with neuroplasticity, creating new pleasure pathways in the brain, being able to have healthier relationships, manifesting things. I've had people manifest divine partners, all kinds of incredible things. When you start to get the shortcuts, it's like you get the cheat codes. And then I'm able to say, oh, I can see where this challenge is for you. Here's the tools that I know really help with that. And boom, let's have like an accelerator and get to that goal more quickly. So you compress time, you get to those results. And that gets to be really addictive. Once you start to have this sudden quantum leap within your life, you want more. You're like, okay, that is awesome. What else? And then you go and you look for people that you respect their word, they have integrity, you would want to live the way that they live, right? There's someone trustworthy, that they have good reviews and testimonials, that you feel safe with them, and then have them guide you, because you want to say, oh, okay, I've seen that they've gotten there. And instead of me trying to figure it out and wasting a bunch of time and getting frustrated or giving up, let them give me the blueprint on how do I get there from here. That's why I really love working with people. I'm going to check the comments. Oh, thank you so much. I really appreciate the words of appreciation. That's one of my top love languages. I received this. Thank you so much. I had an account on Instagram that had 30,000 followers and it was shut down last year. And just the other day, I posted some funny jokes and someone reported my stuff and I had to remove some of the jokes in the carousel. It's so silly. I have a warning on Instagram that says your content is being lowered in the feed, so my content doesn't get shown out to as many people. If you're someone and you feel like you would want to be in a community and be supported and have growth, I am creating my first mastermind. I'll share the details on it in an email, but I'm creating a mastermind called Frequency with the word freak, letting your freak flag fly. This mastermind is going to be the first time I'm doing something that's co-ed because I want people to be really respectful and have a safe space. So one of the things in here is within the mastermind that if you're attracted to someone that's in there, maybe wait till after the container is done to do any approaching and allow the woman to do the approaching. Because I just want to create a really safe community where we're not thinking about if we're going to date or get to know anyone else in an intimate way through there to really, because then if you're thinking of that in your mind, you're not going to ask your most vulnerable questions because you're going to want to appear and put your mask on in case, oh, I have a crush on this person in there. This is really an opportunity for you to be supported. And one of the things that I think is a challenge in our society is that it's like men versus women, and it shouldn't be that way. I'm going to have 2 co-ed calls every month. That way, men and women, we can share what our challenges are and be allies for one another. Because there are challenges that men have that women don't understand. And if we could start to understand those things, but whenever we talk to a partner or a partner might say their perspective or what's hard for them, we can be more defensive because we really love that person and what they're saying. And are they upset with us? And all this stuff gets triggered and we can't really fully take it in. But if we're in a community, in a safe space, and we're having these conversations about different things, and then you hear that perspective, it can help you to be a better person and better partner for the person that you're with in relationship because you can have this light bulb moment because now you're not attached to it. Oh, I can see how they must be experiencing that. I can see how that would make them feel. Okay, that could be something my partner goes through that I just never even knew about. I never really thought about it from that perspective. And if we could start to have an understanding together and understand where one another are coming from and start to feel safe in community and trust. That's so beautiful. In addition to that, every month there's going to be one men's only call and women's only call, where then we're getting really juicy, where there's extra juicy sex questions, or I may guide you on an extended pleasure ritual or something else spicy that you can do. And it's just in a space where you're not concerned that the opposite sex is there. It's just for you. And that will be once a month. And then every other month, I'm going to have a special master class and world famous experts and speakers coming in as well. And then you have access to my complete transformational Tantra Vault, all the things that I've created with my master classes, my Intro to Tantra course, my Orgasmic Manifestation Method course that by itself is over $5,000. And there's payment plans and everything too. So this is something I'm wanting to do, and I want it to start November 7th. And with that in mind, I put on the FAQs section on that page, I have the dates. I have dates where we're blocked off for holidays and Christmas and New Year. So it's going to stretch out a little further into 2025. But like, what a powerful way to start out 2025. Can you imagine if you got your chakras aligned and on and popping, you started mastering your emotions and not letting your emotions run the show. You had emotional mastery and resilience. You're able to regulate your nervous system. And you're able to be an amazing lover and start to really open up your heart and get rid of those blocks that are blocking you from love, that are blocking you from pleasure, that are blocking you from being your fullest expression and your authentic self. Because what we need to do is shine our light. Because when we shine our light, we're like lighthouses and we let other people find their way home. Even in this part in the back, there's a little lighthouse back there. I'm so passionate about this. There's going to be inner child healing, a lot of dynamics because we have been through a lot of stuff and we've been afraid to talk about it, or we're not aware. We just said, oh, everyone goes through that and we dismiss it. But these challenges and these patterns and the hurts and the wounds that we haven't addressed are showing up in our relationships and sabotaging things that really matter to us. So that's why I created this space. And I love working with men and women. I really wanted to bring a space where everyone can come together and be supported. I like this. When partners can talk about sex, they can communicate about anything and they are more courageous at work. Yes. I love that you shared that because How we do one thing is how we do everything. And how we show up in the bedroom is how we show up in the boardroom, is how we show up in the Zoom room. And when we can have that courage in our most vulnerable selves, when have no clothes on and we're in our most intimate moments, and we can have courage there, we can have courage anywhere. We just move in the world in a much different, empowered way. Inside the program, you'll be able to be coached by me as well during the calls. I'm all about making quantum shifts. That's what I'm really passionate about. There's a special savings until I believe Sunday in our payment plans. And people to work with me pay $10,000 to $20,000 for 3 months. So for 6 months, this is a great value. When is the last time that you invested in yourself? We can spend so much money on these material items and these other things, and they don't even have a return for us. They just start to deteriorate in value. There is a cost of investing in ourselves. You also have to think of, what is it costing you to not take action for yourself? What does it cost you to stay stuck? When you take your last breath, are you going to have regret? There's always a cost. But we don't look at what that's costing us in our relationships and our health, our mental health, and our well-being. How it's impacting us, how it's impacting our health. It's all about holistic. What's going on with your mind, body, soul. That's what I'm here for. And a place where all of you can show up and be in a safe space and be held and guided and supported. So it'd be an honor to guide you. Thank you so much for spending this time here with me the last few days. I see you. I really appreciate you. Love seeing everyone. Sending you all so much love. This is something one of my coaches does, and I really love this. I think it's so beautiful to put in the space. If you're comfortable with it, unmute your mic. And as we're winding down before we sign off, just say again and again, repeat, I love you, I love you, I love you. Just see the other person on the screen, send people love and be like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And the end, say, I love me. Okay, so on the count of 3, we're going to go. And then let's go say, I love you, I love you, I love I love you.
I love you. I love you. I love you. You nothing and all. I love you. I love God.
I love me. Love me. Yes. All right. So much love to each one of you. And I look forward to seeing you again soon.